Welcome to the Scoop World Order. The Buckeyes have just defeated the Akron Zips 52-6, a massive whipping. Team looked good. Started a little slow. We're going to break down what went on, what we had going on. Really excited about the direction of the program. Think this is going to be a huge year for the Buckeyes. We're going to break down what's going on and give you our critiques of everything. As always, we appreciate you guys that enjoy this content. Again, this is a huge show because you guys make it one. We appreciate all that you guys do each and every week to support this channel. We broke every record this month, so we appreciate that. I want your thoughts. Get in that chat, get active, get them super chats flowing. Let us know what your thoughts are. What questions do you have answered? I thought the team was dominant. Obviously, started off a little slow, picked up as things got going. Made a good adjustments in the second half. I mean, the biggest thing about a preseason game like this is you want to avoid major injuries and the type of issues that are issues that could crop up and pop up when you're dealing with a long season. Again, this is like a preseason NFL game to me. I know that it's obviously one where there's a real record and the stats count and everything, but you want to empty the bench. You want to get out of here healthy. You want to spread the wealth. I thought Travion was really good. The pass block heard around the world has been repeated multiple times, but he was efficient. Will Howard 17 for 28 for 228, 3 touchdowns. I thought he was good. Again, can he be better? Of course. I thought Jeremiah Smith proved that he is the best receiver in the entire country. So there's a lot to really like about what's going on with this win. I think that this is something that people are going to be really excited about going forward. But there's a lot of stuff to improve. Like, this is kind of the perfect opening game deal. And I just think that when these guys are, going to go to film, they're going to get yelled at. They're going to get yelled at pretty good. There's going to be a lot of things that need to get corrected. The O-line is going to be a big topic of discussion. And I think that when you look at what these guys, can get better at, obviously the push in the running game will be an issue. I think some of the efficiency will be an issue, but with the defense and what it was able to do, a couple scores, the Gabe Powers score at the end, Lathan Ransom, the scoop and score. That's something that's fantastic. Again, I know that they've stressed turnovers, havoc plays, making, why can't our defense make more plays like that? And we got 2 today. I mean, anytime you get 2 defensive touchdowns, it's really hard to lose. And obviously that helped, make the stats look a little prettier, but J.J. Smith gets the game ball. He was fantastic. I know a lot of people worried about the offensive line, but the way I look at it is you've got 3 new guys on the inside, essentially, with Austin Sawyerville, who's a redshirt freshman, making his first start. You've got Seth McLaughlin making his first start at Ohio State in this offense. And you've got Tigra in there who rotated in a little bit with some of the other guys with Carson. Carson was in a little bit at right guard. He did not play as much as I expected him to, but I think that that's something that those guys those guys are working to figure out, because they there's a lot that's going to get fixed. I think some guys are going to lose their spots, their reps. There were some guys that weren't as good as they needed to be today. So it'll be real interesting after they correct the tape to see how a lot of the lineups look going forward. Joined now by Nevadabuck. Nevada, I was kind of giving an overarching thought of the game. Again, I thought that the team was efficient. The score, at the end of the season, when you're looking at the playoff picture and everything, nobody's going to look at we started off slow. They're just going to see the number. The number was sparkly. It was 52-3 or 6 or whatever it ended up being. And it's going to be something that, you got through the game healthy. You're able to rest Donnie Jackson, rest Cody Simon, who both have nagging injuries. But what are your initial takeaways from week 1 and our victory over Akron?
It was fine. I mean, it was fine. Some of the things I think were kind of as I expected, and others weren't. I went back and looked at my game prediction, which we all write down our game predictions for things. So it's all in writing, and I part of my notable predictions where I thought that Will Howard would throw 3 touchdown passes. Check. I said that J.J. Smith would catch 2 touchdown passes. Check. I said that the defense would have 6 sacks. I think we had 5. I said we'd bring 1 back for a touchdown. I think we brought back 2. So from that standpoint, I thought the game went well. I mean, the first half, the whole game was kind of a wonky out of sorts, out of rhythm type of game. I don't know if it was the officiating or whatever, but first of all, this was one of the longest games that I've ever watched in my entire life. And it's not supposed to be like that. Games are not supposed to take that long. But, I think the offense works better when it's in rhythm. Clearly they weren't. The first half was, yeah, I mean, just like not not awesome. But they survived and they got better. Running game still got a lot to work on. I thought the passing game, I thought Will looked fine. I thought the second half he was clearly better than the first half. But he's as advertised. I mean, he can push the ball down the field. He can move around in the pocket. He can make plays with his legs. And I mean, for all the criticisms and everything like that, I mean, today he was 17 for 28, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, um, and and contributed with the ball on the ground. So I thought he had a good game. Wasn't a great game, but he had a good game. I thought defensively, I you know I thought Sonny and CJ were borderline bad. Sonny was probably better than CJ, but CJ was not good. I don't know how you can continue to roll him out there after a game like that. I mean, Arvell Reese looked markedly better than him, and that was a position where we clearly missed Cody Simon. It felt like we were playing with 9 guys out there. They couldn't cover the pass to the flat, and that was against a really limited Akron team. I thought that was one of the more disappointing things about the game. I thought the offensive line blocking was okay. If I was scoring on a scale of 100, I'd say the pass blocking was probably an 80. The run blocking was maybe a 50. So, I mean, Justin Fry's got some work to do, man. I know we had 3 new guys there on the interior, but I would have hoped for a better effort, a better thing. Not worried, does this concern me long term? No, not at all. This is a preseason NFL exhibition game 1, as you said, in the big picture. It's not going to be relevant. People won't even remember this other than a 46-point victory. But some things to clean up, some things to work on, and you know, I just don't worry too much about stuff like that over one half of kind of mediocre football. I think we showed flashes of what we can do, but certainly a lot of room for improvement.
Yeah, and like I said, I hate games like this because the guys aren't excited to play Akron. They're excited to play football. Obviously, you're always excited to play that first game, but it's like, when it's a 50-point spread. I mean, the guys started off a little slow. I didn't think we were particularly physical in the running game. I think when you look at a lot of the blocking, a lot of the combination blockings, there were a lot of hiccups. And like when you play these teams like Akron, you have to understand you are their Super Bowl. You are the these guys all want to go to the NFL. They all want to play in the league. And the first thing that any NFL scout's going to look at is, well, how'd you do against Ohio State? So their guys play hard. I mean, Joe Moorhead is the same guy that diced us up when he was at Oregon. He ran some little gadget plays and things that basically I think he was picking on CJ Hicks. I mean, like the little thing where he hit the tight end and he went out to the flat and he's completely wide open. Like that's CJ's guy, and CJ was kind of asleep at the wheel a couple times, and his guy was wide open. So. Again, is there going to be a reduction in playing time? We'll see. I mean, is Cody Simon back next week? I don't know what Cody's injury is. I know what Donnie's is, and I don't think we'll see Donnie next week either, honestly. I wouldn't hold anybody that has anything above a hangnail. I'm not playing in next week's game, because if you get through next week's game, which again is Western Michigan, will be another snooze fest. They played Wisconsin last night. Wisconsin is not very good. But they ended up, running them over by the end of the game. But they're competitive. I mean, I think that they're better than Akron, but they're not much better than Akron. So I'm holding anybody, because after week 2, you have the earliest bye week in Ohio State history. Week 3, we're off. So and if anyone's got anything nagging, I think you just got to let them go. But the microcosm of this game again is JJ was the best player on the field. And we said on BuckeyeScoop.com, if you read Nevadabuck's Nugget, they said they're going to run the entire offense through JJ because Caden Dixon Wyatt's here, Chris Henry Jr.'s here. The top 2 receivers in the country flew 7 hours each from LA, from Mater Day to come watch this game. So it was going to be the JJ show. And it was. And the microcosm of the first half was the tunnel screen to JJ, which would have gone for 70 yards, which it hits him right in the numbers. Again, you know, jitters, anxiety, freshman in the shoe, whatever. But I mean, that if that thing goes to the crib, I mean, I think the whole stadium, it knocks off. It's a 60-yard play, and it's just beautifully designed, beautifully blocked. And if he catches it, there's literally 3 offensive linemen in front of him and green field turf. And and no one's catching him on Akron. So that would have been a 60-yard perfect draw. So again, does Will Howard, does that cost Will 60 yards and a touchdown and goodwill? And he'd have been at 340 plus 4 touchdowns if he hits that. But again, JJ's JJ. JJ's the best receiver in the country already. And again, I think that there's a lot to build on. This is kind of my optimal perfect outcome for a day like today, because we got a nice win. We won by a lot. Defense was great. Had two scores, but we've got enough to beat on these kids like pretty hard tomorrow. It's not good enough. Like, I mean, I don't like if we go out and just win 77-0. I don't think that is as helpful as, kind of slogging a little bit early in the game and then picking it up. And then, the numbers look a little prettier because we get 2 defensive scores. So I actually like this. I know you guys kind of think I'm crazy, Kirk, Mr. Bobby Buckeye, Mr. Positivity, but I like it because the O-line is going to get ripped apart in film tomorrow. I've lived these games. You got to remember, I'm not far from perfect. My senior year in 2007, when we went on to win the Big Ten outright, beat Michigan for the 4th straight year, and go to the national championship, we played the Akron Zips, and we were winning 3-2 at halftime, and we were booed off the field. So again, I've lived these games. I hate these games. It's a lot easier. Give me the Texas Longhorns or Michigan or Penn State over Akron or Youngstown or Western Michigan any day of the week. Because again, I know how these games are for these kids because I played in them. And it's like, you got to kind of fake the gusto and the excitement, and the fans aren't super excited. I mean, the fans are excited to be in the shoe. I'm just excited to watch football. And the most important part of today for me is that nobody got hurt. There were no severe injuries, nothing devastating. Trey, I think, had like 8 carries, and Quinshon might have had like 11 or 12. So again, low mileage. A lot of kids got in. What were some things that stood out to you, Nevada? Because there's a bunch of stuff. I was at the game. I took off right after halftime so I could get back in time to podcast for you guys. But what were some things that stood out to you? Because there's a lot of stuff that I really loved that I saw today. So I'm going to start with the positive because that's just what we do here. But what are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, look, I like that they played a lot of guys on defense. I mean, they played a lot of guys, and the backups on the defensive line, the backups in the defensive secondary, the backups at line. I mean, Gabe Powers is a guy who we've talked about a ton, and Arvo Reese both balled out, and Gabe Powers had a touchdown, and I mean, so look, the defense was far from perfect, but I think there's a lot of guys played, so there'll be a lot of good spirit there in the defensive side of the ball because they got out there, they did their thing, and they got a chance to play in front of 100,000 people, and not everybody gets a chance to do that, and that's always terrific. So that was good. Offensively, yeah, I thought Trey looked really good. Quinshon, I he looked fine. I thought Peoples looked good. Like you said, the offensive line. Was the offensive line I just felt like the offense was out of sorts the first. Sometimes you get that way. You get a drop, and then JJ gets a penalty, and now instead of like a big play and a first down, and you're rolling, you're back to 3rd and 6, and then you throw an incomplete pass, and all of a sudden you're like, man, that drive started with a 9-yard run and should have gone like for a 70-yard touchdown, and now all of a sudden we get a penalty, and we're 3rd and 6, we're off the field, and it was just. I thought it was just the whole first half was just kind of that way. But, again, the Buckeyes pulled it together. And as you said, when you can play in a manner that none of us are really happy, none of us are like, oh, wow, that was a perfect game. Wow, the Buckeyes, they looked overwhelmed. Man, you have to remember that this team is going to look completely different in January than they do on August 31st. I mean, it's going to be a completely different team, completely different set of circumstances. And the thing that's going to get us there is being able to, get on these kids, get on them, constantly improve. I frankly think the worst thing that could happen to this team would have been to win 77-0 and play a near perfect game. And have everybody kind of blowing smoke at him right now. I love the fact that there's going to be criticisms, there's going to be people talking about it, and that they've got stuff to improve upon. And as you said, stuff to improve upon, no injuries. Win, advance, learn from the game. I think Western Michigan is clearly better than Akron, so that's going to be a much better game. Hopefully the Buckeyes learn some stuff, but staying positive. That's where I'm at. From a negative standpoint, man, I don't know how you can play CJ Hicks. I just don't. I've been on that for a long time about with CJ and with Sonny that I'd like to see the production match the physical, the physicality and the physical tools. And we'd heard stuff through fall camp that they were getting better, that the lights were coming on for them. But man, when the lights came on, Bryce, but you never know until they play in real games. Until the bullets are flying, you're never really going to know how somebody's going to react. But I thought Sonny was barely okay, and I thought CJ was not good, just not good at all. And you can't play in this defense if you're not good, and that's an issue. You're going to have to restrict his playing time, and I mean that could be that'd be something to watch for next week, because I just can't believe Knowles is going to go with it. You were not getting any production out of the linebacker spot on an OSU defense, and that's not acceptable.
I mean, it's terrifying. And again, I was sitting and I thought Sonny was much better than CJ. CJ was, and again, like, this isn't me, but I mean, did you see the editing of who came out? Like, Arvell came out at that second half, and he was the guy with Sonny. So again, I the one thing I know about Jim Knowles is that when you aren't doing what you're supposed to, you're not covering the guy you're supposed to cover, when you're getting lost, like, you're gonna get a reduction in playing time. I mean, he did that famously with Josh Proctor, who I love Josh Proctor to death. But CJ, he freelances a lot. Again, there was a play where it was at 12:37 of the first quarter where Joe Moorhead did this like funky thing where he had 88 the tight end go under center, like kind of fake under center, and go off in coverage. And I mean, the guy was completely butt naked. I mean, nobody covered him, and again, CJ was kind of lost there. And again, when they're in that 2 week and they keep going to the same side, they were picking on CJ. Again, Joe Moorhead, if something happened to Chip Kelly, he's my first phone call, because I think he is excellent. When he was at Penn State, he was really good. When he was at Oregon, he beat us. And again, I liked Akron's scheme today. Now again, they're not not the same universe as us, obviously, talent wise, but they did a lot of stuff where they got guys open, and they did a lot of stuff I thought that was for having terrible talent, and they were 127th in the country in offense last year. I mean, they're terrible, but they did some stuff I was like, wow, that guy's really open. And I thought that was impressive. And again, those kids showed up. Again, like I said, these games suck for Ohio State because this is their Super Bowl, and for us, this game is a nuisance, and for them, it's the Super Bowl. So they played hard, and God bless them, and have a safe trip up 71 home and whatever. But something that I loved is that we ran a Rushman package with 4 defensive ends that I noticed, where they put Jack Sawyer in at defensive tackle, with Mitchell Melton at defensive end. And then on the other side, you had Kenyatta and Caden Curry. They put Caden inside and they put Kenyatta outside, and they ran twists. And that got like instant pressure. Like, Jack Sawyer, I thought, had a fantastic game. He did not have a ton of stats, but I thought he was consistently beating his guy, getting in the backfield, wreaking havoc. And again, it's weird sometimes when you look at the box score, it's like you got a couple tackles, and then you see everybody else gets the sacks. But I thought Jack was wreaking havoc today. I thought that the D-line, JT had a nice sack. JT had a sack and a half. And, again, you should do that versus MAC offensive line. I mean, there's a huge chasm in talent between the MAC and the Big Ten, especially our level a little bit, because we're not like Illinois, Purdue, Big Ten. We're the elite SEC, S-tier level of the Big Ten. And I thought our guys up front showed up, which is good. I thought our secondary showed up. I thought they were active. I thought they were engaged. Again, I thought that the team came out ready to roll, and it was good to see JT. I think JT's lighter. I think he's quicker. I thought he was bending the edge better. And when he ran that guy down with 10 minutes ago in the first quarter, and he got that sack, like, that was a play that I don't know if he made last year. Again, I think that Jack and JT really, really dialed in the diet. I think they really worked on the hips and flipping and getting to the quarterback, bending this, because there were a lot of sacks left on the table last year where they were close. And that's been kind of the edict this year is guys like, what do we have to do to get you to the point where you're finishing these sacks, where you're the guy getting them on the ground? Because again, these guys, they both want to be All-Americans, and you can't be an All-American with 6 sacks. You got to get to double digits. You got to get to 10, 12, whatever. I thought Ty Leak was running around. I mean, Ty Leak looks like a different animal this year. He was chasing the ball. He was active in pursuit, which again, when a guy weighs 330, that's really hard to do. But I mean, he was flying on some of these plays. He runs down a tunnel screen, stuff that he didn't do last year because he's in better shape. Because again, this is the contract year for these guys. It's time to go to the NFL. There's no more. You're at the end of the road. There's nothing left to do. So these guys they're playing very hard, and I'm not questioning their effort last year, but they're in better shape. They're leaner, they're lighter, and I thought that they were productive today. Now again, it is Akron, so I'm not like, oh my God, Kirk, we're not playing. We don't get to play Georgia every week like people wish, but like I said, I thought it was a good start. Again, the defense was tight. I mean, we had two defensive plays. Jim Knowles has stressed havoc plays all camp. So, we get 2 scores. I think that's a great shot in the arm for the defense. I know that defensive scores electrify the horseshoe, they electrify the stadium, and they quiet an away stadium. So, those are huge. I mean, and that's something that I think a guy like Lathan Ransom, who, to me, I know that Ryan was real tight with the 4 captains, but I think Lathan's a guy that was right at the edge of being a captain, along with Donnie Jackson. So it was really nice to see him get a touchdown in his first game after he's had the injuries in the long career. Nevada, any other thoughts? Because again, I'm happy with the game. Again, I know that everybody wants to beat everyone to death and be all sad and depressed and whatever, but I was like, we didn't get hurt. We dropped 50. I thought the defense was really, really sharp and got better. But I also think there's enough stuff for people to yell at on the O-line. I mean, on zone 6 is going to get blistered because they're dropping passes and they could be better. But there was enough flashes from zone 6, obviously with JJ. I thought Ennis should be the return guy across the board at this point. I think he, when I saw him chasing that ball that was over his head, I was like, there is no way that he's just gonna he's not just gonna let the ball hit the ground and let it roll dead. I mean, he wants to touch the ball and go make an impact, and he did. And I thought he was really good. Any other thoughts about it? Because again, I'm happy. Like again, I'm glad college football's back. And I think that people, Kirk, you're this is the perfect outcome for me for week 1 of the season because Ryan and the coaching staff can blister these guys in film tomorrow. But we got a nice win. We didn't get any major injuries. What are your thoughts about it?
Well, I think the highlight of the day was Kyle McCord's dad, like taking a swing at our at the person that runs our Twitter account, trying to flex because of Kyle's game today for Syracuse. And I was like, I'm looking at the stat line at the end of the game, and I'm like, well, Kyle threw it a lot more, had an interception. He had 1 more touchdown pass, but Howard had 3, he had 4, and I'm like, this is probably not the time to be flexing because being perfectly objective, I thought Will Howard was such a clear upgrade today over Kyle McCord. Didn't take a sack, didn't turn the ball over. He's got that kind of veteran poise there that when the play, he made 1 wonky play where the thing broke down, he threw it backwards to Trey. That was less than optimal. But I thought it was just, to me, that kind of summed up Cal McCord's whole career here was the fact that his dad would try to come and try to make a super flex based upon Cal McCord's effort today against some Max Goal, which frankly, statistically wasn't better than Will Howard's game. No rushing, he had 5 carries for -1 yard. Will can do it with his legs and things like that. But yeah, it was a weird day, man. The first half of the game was weird. Kyle McCord's dad coming on there was weird. And I think people have got kind of mixed feelings. I think this game either confirms your worst fears or your highest hopes for the team. And for me, it's probably somewhere in between. I mean, we've got lots to build on. The defense will get better. You already see the talent oozing on the secondary. I mean, the amount of talent that we've got in the defensive secondary is undeniable. And you could see it today, even against a team that was really limited passing the ball. Um, Up front, Jack and JT are both going to have just monster seasons, and we've got to get better production out of our linebacker. That's where we're at. Offensively, you've got just an abundance of guys. Punt returning, I'd still like to see them put a second returner back there within us. I don't like the fact and Brandon's unbelievable. I thought he was the best punt returner we've had back there in a while. You had called stuff on Ennis, and so that was not surprising to you. Might have been surprising to some people, but I would still put a second returner back with him so he doesn't have to run 47 yards to catch the ball every time. And no, I would. I would do what you guys did when you guys had Teddy Ginn and Santonio Holmes back there. I do not understand why that doesn't make sense now. I thought it made sense back then, especially with these rugby kicks that are low line drives. You catch one of those by one of those guys. I mean, Brandon almost housed one today when he caught that one, on the thing. I mean, he was almost gone. So, yeah, no, lots to build on. 46-point victory, and we're still kind of grousing, which is, that's fine. We're Ohio State fans. That's what we do. We're never quite satisfied with what's going on. And I certainly wasn't. It's not like I'm like over the moon, like, oh wow, that was perfect. That was perfection. But I see the building blocks on which we're building. And again, at the end of the day, it's still a 46-point win. It's still a game with 5 turnovers, 2 returns for touchdowns, and you didn't turn the ball over on offense. So I got lots to build on for Ohio State and lots to be encouraged about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I choose to be happy just because again I think that was it like I said before it wasn't ideal, but you had a lot of guys starting new. I mean Tigra was new in there, Seth McLaughlin was new, Will Howard was new. And again that's modern college football. Austin Seyerveld's a redshirt freshman making his first start. So there's a lot to go. I mean JJ. I mean this is JJ's first college game ever. So again we were about 5 plays away from this thing being, 60-ish, 3 more touchdowns. I mean, you saw stuff like, Carnell drops a pass early. JJ drops that tunnel screen that would have been a 60-yard touchdown. So like we're close. I mean, JJ's not going to drop that ball again. I promise you. He's not going to. That's going to be one that's going to haunt him because that was, he had 3 touchdowns and 150 yards or 160, whatever. I mean, like whatever we're going to finish with. I mean, so. There's a lot of meat left on the bone, but when you look at the stats, like the stats are fine. And I think that they made a conceded effort today not to run Will Howard. You didn't see much read option just because you don't want to run Will Howard versus Akron when you don't need him getting hit versus the Akron Zips when you can basically just hand it to whoever and do your thing. So I don't think we saw like a kind of a full effort out of our out of the squad running it. And again. Can our zone blocking be better? Absolutely. Can we be more physical at the point? Absolutely. But again, we weren't running our read option stuff. And, we were a little more vanilla than I projected. I thought we would be a little bit more crazy. But, I like the thing I really like with Will and something that I thought really worked well was the misdirection stuff where you got him a little bit on the run. They do like kind of this cross flow action. And then he pulled it the one time and he scrambled out and he hit it back on a nice over route. And like, that stuff is, it's really hard to defend. He hit Emeka with a beautiful pass right before he went to the sideline. And again, that's a play that is, I think, terribly difficult to defend just because there's a lot of eye discipline involved and you've got running backs crossing and you've got, Emeka and you've got JJ doing the deep over. So I think that there's going to be a lot of stuff that'll get fixed. But like I said, I'm happy with it because we have 2 basically, I mean, it literally is like a preseason NFL schedule. 2 games, the starters should play about 2.5, 3 quarters, then empty the bench for the 4th quarter. And then you have a bye week, which again, I don't think we've ever had a bye week 3, because there's almost no point at that point, where they can kind of reassess who's where, who needs to play more, who needs to play less, and get a good self-scout in. They'll get a good self-scout in and they'll figure out, okay, this is what we need to fix. This is what we need to do. But like I said, Trey only had 8 touches today, which is great. Quinshon had maybe 11 or 12, which is great. I mean, I loved the little quarterback follow play, where it was like a read option where he, Quinshon, he like kind of read it. It was like a same side read, and then Quinshon became the lead blocker instantly. on Will, and Will got like 9 yards on that play. Like, I thought that was a great play. So there's all these little Chip Kelly wrinkles that we saw today that they got on film. But again, you don't want to run Will Howard to death. I mean, Will Howard ran for 350 yards last year and like 9 touchdowns. And, today we just got a little sprinkling of it. We got like maybe 30 yards. Because again, versus Akron, keep the kid's jersey clean. Don't let him take a stupid shot, for no reason. Again, you saw Akron's quarterback, he took off and Davidson. I thought, again, I was at the stadium, so it's a lot harder to see than on TV. I thought it was, again, I was wrong, obviously, but from the stadium, I was like, oh my God, is that a targeting on Davidson Igbenos? And like, he's gone after one play, but that's the kind of shot that you don't want your starting quarterback taking when he's running the ball versus a team like Akron. If he has to take that shot versus Michigan to win the game, totally different argument. But against Akron, we don't want our guy taking those kinds of shots, because their quarterback took that shot and, he was out for a little bit. They had to put the backup in. He came back, but he was obviously he was ineffective just because of, the talent gulf between Akron and Ohio State. But you don't want your guys taking those kinds of shots from a DB, especially even if he slides. So, Nevada, anything else that we can dig into some super chats?
No, just, I think what you're looking for with the team is you're just looking for, trying to identify where your weak spots, what you can improve upon, what things, went the way you thought, what things need to get better. And, for Ohio State, I've always felt that Ohio State's they've got to be able to push the ball down the field. If they push the ball down the field, it's going to be able to open some stuff up for them. And I like the fact that Will Howard was pushing the ball down the field. That made me very, very happy. He threw that dot down to JJ down to near the goal line. He had that other one down to Emeka that got the pass interference. But you got to push the ball down the field, stretch the box out there a little bit, get some things open, and do it. Would like to see a more in rhythm, kind of controlled, offensive performance next week, and I hope we get that because. You don't want to play every half like we did the first half. That was below average, but I thought the second half was above. So, I thought they improved. Hopefully they can build on that and play even better next week.
Yeah, and I think that there's adjustment. I mean, there was a lot of adjustment today. You've got Chip Kelly up in the box for the first time in a long time. Ryan Day not calling plays for the first time in a long time. Helmet communications, which again, I thought Will Howard has it a lot easier than Sonny Styles did today. Sonny Styles had the radio today or the helmet communications. Because when you're in the horseshoe, Will is it's quiet. On offense we're quiet. On defense, the fans, rightfully so, are used to being loud. They're used to hey, let's get loud, let's get noisy. They play all kinds of music and AC/DC and whatever to get the crowd loud. So Sonny was struggling. I mean, I could see him going like this and saying, like again. And I mean, I was literally visibly watching Sonny because I was wondering who would get the comms with Cody out. And it was Sonny. And it was just like, I was like, oh my God, that kind of sucks because he's got to relay everything. And, there's no more signals. He's got the thing in the ear. But Nevada, I did want to say they did run a quarterback sneak today. They kind of ran, it looked like the Philly special. Did that make you happy? Because again, I was like, oh my God, run the Philly special. They had like the big condensed rugby formation, and it converted. What were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, they didn't run it particularly well, but they did run it, and that's what you can do when you've got a big, quarterback like that. You've got a guy that can go and you can do the push behind him and move him, and they converted. I'm sure they'll run some interesting things off of that, but yeah, no, that was great. I like taking first downs the easiest possible way, and that play, if it's properly executed, virtually impossible to defend.
Yeah, I loved it just because I thought you've been screaming for that because again, everyone in the universe does it, and for whatever reason we didn't do it. And Tom Brady was like 45 years old doing it with the Buccaneers and with the Patriots, and he's the greatest quarterback sneak efficiency quarterback in history. And I was always shocked when anyone do that, but. Again, there was a lot of stuff I liked. Jelani got in there a little bit. Will Kazmarek played more than G. Scott that I could tell. It might have been pretty even by the time I might have missed a few snaps that G had, but he did some decent things as a blocker. So we'll see what he can do. Again, that's the kid that came from Ohio University, another grad transfer guy. But I thought Will did some things where in the past, Kyle McCord would have taken sacks because he was lead foot and I think Will's a huge upgrade from Kyle McCord. I really do. I mean, there was a play where they had a simulated pressure where they brought 4 guys and we didn't get the protection and we turned a guy loose right off the edge and Kyle McCord would have taken a sack because he had concrete in his shoes last year and Will stepped around him and zipped the ball to JJ to convert and and he threw some really good passes right after that play. He threw the Emeka, got the arm down and they didn't call it a touchdown. I don't know what the rule is on that. I guess a hand doesn't count like a foot does, but Emeka caught it and he's like torqued up in the air and he puts his hand on the ground, but I guess that doesn't count the same as a foot because then
hold on. No, what they claimed, Kirk, is that the ball moved.
Got it.
They're claiming that and if that counts as a ball movement, then the ball moves every single time somebody hits the ground with the ball. That was horrible. Now again, it led to JJ's first touchdown, and that was great and super awesome. Yeah. But I thought the refereeing was awful. Weird. I want to talk about the play that you talked about where they did that moving one way, roll out the second, and they kind of had receivers at 3 levels, and I love that. I think that puts so much stress and had Will Howard with a run option. So I'm not sure how you defend that play. And when Will can deliver the ball like he did with a perfect pass to the sideline, that worked out, that perfect. But that was one of the plays I looked at. I'm like, man, that's a beautiful play. I want to see more of that this year, and I expect that we will.
Yeah, because you just want to be on the move. Like if you're on the move, and again, when it's a real team. I'm good with him tucking it and running it and potentially absorbing a blow. When you're playing Akron or Western Michigan, I don't want him to get hit at all. If you're playing Penn State, Michigan, and you got to go get that first down, then go do what you got to do. But when you're playing Akron, you don't need to get our quarterback hit for some soup. So again, that's credit to Chip Kelly, and I'm sure that's an edict from Ryan Day because Ryan, obviously, he knows how important the quarterback is to the operation. I thought, like I said, I thought Will was good today. I really did. I thought that, he got a little bit more warmed up as things went, but, the Emeka touchdown could have been another one. The JJ tunnel screen could have been another one. So, like I said, there was a lot of meat on the bone. I don't know how you judge Will Howard for a JJ drop, but again, JJ was fantastic. So, again, he's a freshman, dude. There's going to be jitters. There's going to be, I think Chris Carter, who is a member of BuckeyeScoop.com and a proud member of the Scoop family. Chris Carter, Hall of Fame receiver, 8-time Pro Bowler, greatest receiver in Ohio State history for my money. He literally tweeted, well, that makes 2 of us because I dropped my first pass in the horseshoe too. And I'm sure Chris got booed and I'm sure JJ got, I don't know if he got booed, maybe a couple of groans or whatever. But, they're both going to turn out okay, which I think is actually fantastic. All right, Nevada, we got some super chats piling up. You ready to dig through some of the questions from the crew?
Let's do it.
David Dickerhoof, we got a 10. If you have a question, toss that in the chat. I do not see one on here, but I appreciate you, brother. Larry Daniels, 1, thank you for the 5. First game, thank you for being an Ultra member as well. First game, adjustments will come. We do need to improve all aspects of the game. Yeah, and I agree. Again, I said it before and I'll say it again. This was a perfect game for me because we won by a big, pretty number. So most people that didn't watch this game, because outside of Ohio State fans, no one's dying to watch the Ohio State Akron game just because it's Ohio State Akron. When Alabama's playing Western Kentucky, I don't really care to watch that. When there's some other game on that's got to be more competitive, like when there's Texas A&M, Notre Dame or whatever. But, the score looked pretty enough. It'll look like we just handled our business, whatever. And I know we got some touchdowns late. Thank you to the defense for the Gabe Powers TD. But, these guys are going to get tore up in film tomorrow. Again, this is like Urban Meyer. Urban Meyer in 2012, his first game, we played Miami of Ohio. The Miami Redhawks, they came in, and it was 55-21 or 55-14 or some ghastly score. And, I was like, okay, it's fine. We got 55. Was it perfect? No. Were there screw-ups all over the place? Yes. But I was like, we scored 55 points and 55-21. Again, I don't care. I'm not a guy who's like, oh, my God. Man, we got in that film session on Sunday morning at 10 a.m., and I remember sitting down. I got my grade sheet ready to grade the tackles. Ed Warner was grading the guards and centers. Sit next to Ed, and Tom Herman's in there, and Sam Drayton and Zach Smith were all in there. Man, Urban annihilated us for 3 hours. And again, that was the fun thing about being on the offensive staff with Coach Meyer is like he didn't sit with the defense, he sat with us. So I mean, we put 55 points up on the board, and you would have thought we won 10-7, which again, I was fine with it. I was like, I don't care. Again, my high school coach, like, there isn't a human being in this world that can give you a ripping worse than my high school coach. So again, whatever Coach Meyer said, I was like, oh, I already heard it 15 years ago. You're good, dude. But I actually loved it. I was like, you know what? This is great. Like, this is how you get that consistent improvement and you get that tension. And I think a lot of great coaches talk about how, in games like this, they have to kind of invent some sort of a tension or an adversity or some sort of, like, Bill Parcells was the absolute master of that, where it's like, what he was miserable after a blowout win like this. Cause you don't want the players getting adulation or, oh, your parents think you're great or your agent thinks you're great or all these NIL people think you're great. Like, the coaches got to beat that. They got to beat that beast back into the cage and get these kids to say, hey, if we were playing the Georgia Bulldogs, that effort probably isn't good enough. If you're playing Oregon, is that effort going to get it done? So again, I think it's going to be nice and steamy and heated in the Woody tomorrow, in each little individual position meeting where they're grading everything. It's going to be very, very, very hot. And I've been in those film sessions, and oh boy, these guys are going to go out and they're going to have a couple cold beers tonight, eat some dinner, and be like, oh God, I got to go in and I'm going to take these whoopings tomorrow from my position coach. So again, but I think it'll be good. Nevada, do you have anything to add? Again, Larry Daniels, appreciate you, my man, says, first game adjustments will come. We do need to improve in all aspects of the game. Any thoughts, Nevada?
No, we absolutely need to improve in all aspects of the game. There's no question about it. And, and it's August 31st. I mean, it's not even September yet. So yeah, we've got there's a long way to go. There's a lot of stuff that we've got to do. And, the good news is we have the talent to get it done. The pieces that are in place, and a game like this, it's a long season. It's a building block. The worst thing that could happen for this, the worst thing would have been injuries. The second worst thing would have been injuries and losing the game. The third thing would have been injuries and having a perfect game. So from this standpoint, it's fine. You just got to get better. I just look for this team. I want to see them improve every week. Can they take a next step? Can they go and can they build off of this and run the ball a little bit better next week? Can they build off of this and have better linebacker play next week? There's some things on special teams. The first snap to the punter was almost high and wide to the right. I know that they want to roll them out that way, but you want to see that be a little bit more controlled. So just a lot of little things, tweak the stuff in terms of doing it, and I think we'll be fine. But absolutely lots to build off of in this game.
Oh man, Dave Mathis, my man, thanks for the 5. Yesterday, Nevadabuck said they will feed JJ, so put 600 on his anytime TD and hit big. We did it all on defense today, up 2K today. Nevada OH. Nevada, you had a really nice nugget about the Akron game plan. It said the whole offense is going to run through J.J. Smith. And again, I mean, he already was the MVP of the game, and he literally missed a third touchdown and another 60 yards on the tunnel screen that was, I mean, you want to talk about like a play call where people are like, oh my God, Chip Kelly, genius. Like, that tunnel screen was as well orchestrated and blocked up as you could ever dream. I mean, it was a convoy. I mean, there were 3 offensive linemen in the middle of the field. There's nobody home. And JJ runs 4.3. So, but yeah, Nevada, I mean, you handed out that prop, the JJ Smith anytime touchdown. I know that you have really smart people that tell you to bet on things like that. So, congrats. And congrats to you, Dave. That's awesome. Any thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, no, we had JJ Smith anytime touchdown. We had JJ Smith over 50 yards. And then we took a stab at JJ Smith over 103 yards. That was like plus 580. And he was at 92 and then just did not get another target at that point. But I was hoping maybe we'd steal that one as well. So, yeah, no, JJ was he was money. Like I said, in a lot of ways, the game went kind of as we thought it would. And as we talked about earlier, and in a lot of ways, it didn't. So, but that's the great thing about football. You never know. You go out there, you got to see these games. You got to see how these games unfold. And but JJ certainly was everything that we thought he would be. And even with that first drop, as soon as he dropped that, I've seen him play enough in high school. I knew that he'd lock it in and bring down. He didn't drop it after that. That was for sure. But yeah, he's special.
Yeah, I totally agree. Pooh Bear 12, thank you for the 10. I appreciate you, my friend. Oh, God, I was waiting on this. Thoughts from being there. The TV timeouts are so brutally long, 2 minutes and 50 seconds per, and it was so hot that it was impossible to get any rhythm. Second half, we are in the shade. Also, Ennis is a revelation at punt return. I mean, Nevada, I know that you're a savant when it comes to television, and I know that your guy Peter Gruber was like, TiVo and it's gonna kill everything except for live sports. But God bless, man, the TV timeouts they had like a 3 minute, because they have a guy because I was at the game, and a lot of you guys were at the game. He stands on like the 20-yard line, and he holds up they have a big digital like thing that they put in the ground that's got the timer, and it literally says like 3 minutes. And so when they go to a TV timeout, it like starts running from the networks that it's 3 minutes. So they had like a 3 minute TV timeout on change of possession, and then we ran one play, and then it was the end of I think the first quarter. It was another 3 minute timeout. And I was just like, oh my God, like the flow of the game is just crazy. It's crazy slow. It's crazy clunky. I don't know. And again, I'm not crying about it. I know that that's what pays the bills, and we have no say. And they want the games to be shorter, but the games are never shorter. They just add more commercials to the games. But what were your thoughts on the flow of the game?
It was terrible. I mean, it was hard to watch. I mean, it was hard to watch, and I've been so excited, and I've been the one that's been preaching, watch every minute, watch every play, savor every moment, and yeah, it was very difficult to watch the game just because of the game flow. And for an offense like everybody's offense is predicated upon rhythm, but especially an Ohio State offense with Chip Kelly calling the plays, and I just felt it was just wonky. The whole thing, it was just hard to get into a rhythm. And 3 minutes doing that is terrible. And like I said, really, really hard to hard for them to get anything going. But yeah, television was a factor today. There's no question. It certainly was a factor in my viewership. I'm sure it was a factor in terms of the on-field performance.
Yeah, and like I've played in games, and it's like you want to get some sort of a rhythm, some sort of a something, man. And I'm just telling you, man, when it's like you run one play, it's like you come off the sideline, you run one play, and then you go back to the sideline and stand there for 3 minutes. Like, and then there's a 2-minute warning, and I'm just like, God bless, man. It's like the flow. It destroys the flow of the game, And again, like when you're, based on timing and rhythm, like every time stuff stops, there's a little bit less timing and rhythm. So it's I don't know, like it like again, this is not excuse making. It's just reality. Again, this is Pooh Bird. He's one of the smartest people on here and one of our best posters, and a great ad to BuckeyeScoop.com. I mean, he was there, and again, it was just like, God bless. There's another break in the action. So, again, not excuse making. I'm just talking about this is a year where Ohio State has as much different stuff to deal with between the iPads, the helmet communication. Chip Kelly's upstairs. Ryan's not calling the plays anymore. Like there's all these different things that are new. So I thought it took a little bit of time to get it warmed up and get things flowing. And I think that it's going to be better and smoother from here on out. I think that something that you always do when you go through the first game day with new OC, Carlos Loughlin, like the new coaches, like whatever, is you kind of audit everything. I'm sure tonight, Ryan will watch the film and, probably have a couple cold beers and watch the night games or whatever. But like, kind of go through what do we need to fix? What was inefficient? What needs to change? Like something that was really interesting is that they've got these giant awnings now on top of the benches that cover up the benches. And again, there's some people that are like, oh, that's got to be shade for the poor little buttercup players, the poor little pudding pops that are down there that can't take the heat of the sun. I was like, no, that's to cover up the iPads. Because I'm telling you, when I used to play at Ohio State, Jim Bowman, our offensive line coach, would have all the guys that didn't play, like all the guys that were backups, stand behind the bench So when he was drawing up adjustments on the whiteboard, we'd have these big 6'5", 6'6" guys standing up behind it to block the view of the opposing coaches in the press box. Because you gotta understand, the opposing coaches in the press box, they all have binoculars, so they can look down and see, well, hey, they're adjusting that blitz, and this is what they could do. And again, could that be something that they get a tip on or not get a tip on, whatever? So, again, those awnings were new. Those were not there last year. So there's awnings now, because when these kids are watching the iPads, or the coaches are watching the iPads, or they're diagramming stuff on the iPads, like when you're looking through binoculars, you can see exactly what they're looking at or fixing or potentially changing. So again, we've been had before with the Michigan stuff, and I think that we're over the top on trying to prevent that. So, but again, like, we won and nobody got hurt, and we were able to rest two of our senior All-American candidates, and Donnie and Cody. And we had a lot of young guys do a lot of really good stuff. So I think there's enough excitement. You're able to get some guys in the game. Be positive. I know it's hard because everybody wants to say the O-line sucks and we suck, and George is better than we are because they beat Clemson. Clemson is like a dead corpse at this point. They're done. But yeah, I just, like I said, I'm happy with where we're at. I like some of the looks we showed. We did a lot of 2 tight end stuff. We did more 2 tight end stuff than I thought we would. But Chip likes 2 tight ends. I wish we had, a better second tight end. But hey, I like, some of the running game. We did this, this really nifty little play where it was just the Buck sweep where you pull the 2 guards, and then you had Carnell Tate as a puller on the backside. It's like you had 3 pullers, and Carnell had to like put it up in there and actually block a safety, which I thought was great. And that was one where Trey got like 10 yards and didn't even get touches right at the end of the first quarter. And it was right on the sandwich of the the TV timeout and then the first quarter TV timeout. So they ran one play for 10 yards and then they had to take another timeout. So again, that was part of the flow thing, but I liked a lot of the stuff that I saw. So again, that's me. Also, Ennis was a revelation at punt return. And I've said, when a guy is an effort guy and he's tough, give him a role. Like, I mean, Brandon is the number 4 receiver. So knock on wood, I hope nothing happens to the top 3, which is, obviously Carnell, JJ, and Emeka. But, Brandon deserves to be an integral part of the plan. They faked a read option to him later in the game. I think he's going to get some carries as the season goes on. But he deserves, 5 or 6 touches a game. If you're running 60 plays, I think Brandon has earned 5 or 6 of those. JJ probably earns 10 to 15. The 2 running backs probably 10 to 15 each, and then sprinkle in Emeka and Carnell. So, but I appreciate you, Pooh Beard. Again, if you guys have questions, toss us in a super chat. Schaefer Healthcare, thank you for the 5. Appreciate you, my friend. Concerned about the offensive line after today, or does Donnie out make that big of a difference? I'm not concerned, because I think that there was a lot of rust. You have to understand, this was a brutal training camp for the offensive line. This was brutal, because Josh Simmons was out for a long time, over a week during camp. So he was not as sharp as he needed to be today because he had the hand, foot, and mouth disease. Donnie missed basically all of camp with a lower body injury. So he's out. So you get your preseason, go open all the preseason All-American magazines. He's a preseason All-American guard in basically every publication. He's out. You have a new center who came from Alabama, and you've got 2 new guards. So was it a little wonky with Tigra in there and with Austin Seyerveld? Yeah, it was. I mean, were there some butterflies and jitters? Yeah. Do we need more push? Yeah. I think we need to be more physical in pass protection. I mean, there's times where, these guys have kill shots. If a guy's free, there was a time where Seth McLaughlin was completely free and Tiger was holding the guy up, and like Seth needs to go kill that guy, like knock him out, because that's what good lines do. Because then you take care of your buddy and you don't have Tigra in there fighting, trying to hold up a guy in a bull rush. When Seth could just go like, it literally put his helmet into his ribs and end his day. So again, there's some stuff that needs to be cleaned up. I think that they could be more violent in pass pro. They'll get better in run blocking. And again, I think that, we did not run well at all today. He had like 20 yards rushing. So, when we start running him, I think it'll open up a lot of the running game. But what are your thoughts about? Are you concerned about the offensive lineup today, or does Donnie being out make that big of a difference?
Well, I mean, like you said, it was. I mean, you've got instead of Donnie and his 30 starts or whatever it is, you've got Austin Searwold, who's never redshirt freshman, never played before, and Tigra's never had a start before. So I'd say little concern. I mean, little concern because you want to see it better, but you definitely see the path to improvement. I mean, Donnie's he's 20% of your line. With him being back there help for sure. Will those guys get better with more reps? Absolutely. Will it be better as Will Howard becomes more comfortable as he runs more? All those things are yes. But yes, I'd say moderate concern, not a high level of concern, but certainly something to keep an eye on, and hopefully we take another step next week and get better.
Yeah, and for Donnie, like I don't know if I risk him next week. And now again, they're better than Akron, but we still should be able to win by one versus Western Michigan. Again, I'm at the point where just win by a point. Like I know that sounds crazy, but just win, and we'll get to where we need to get to. But I don't think we see Donnie next week. And then you give him next week plus the bye week to get not only healthy, but he has to get his conditioning up, man. It's hard to stay in shape when you've got a lower body injury because you can't run, and you can't practice. You have to get the sea legs under him. So, but I thought Austin Sauerveld, he hung in there. Like, I mean, it wasn't vomit. I mean, there's been times in the past where if we had issues or we had a guy out, it was just absolute vomit. And I didn't think it was like that today. Could we be better? Sure. Are you starting a redshirt freshman? Sure. I was a little surprised Carson didn't play more. Honestly, I thought Carson was a guy that showed some good things last year, and he rolled in there a little bit with Tigra. And I think that he's the guy that he has a lot of versatility. I mean, there have been very few times in the history of Ohio State where a guy with 12 starts did not return and start, and was benched. But they like Tigra, and again, it's a long season, but I think Carson's gonna keep plugging along, and we've got more depth than we've had, and again, I like the direction of the team. I like the direction of where we're at. I think there's going to be a lot of very hard coaching tomorrow. But yeah, I think that the O-line will get better because they're going to get absolutely destroyed in film tomorrow. Badass Prime Entertainment, thanks for the 5. Appreciate you, my man. We scored 2 short yard touchdowns today. I love that. I love all the other stuff, but that felt good to see. It was such a weakness before. Your thoughts on that? Nevada OH. What are your thoughts on that, Nevada? Because again, I always thought that we had some issues where we couldn't really punch it in short yardage, and we generally crow because it was a scheme thing, and we got him in there. We knocked Quinshawn got one in from short, and a couple others. But what were your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I look. I think that when you have a running quarterback like Will and you run that zone, I mean, look, the zone read from Akron gave us trouble. I mean, look how much trouble it gave our defense. I mean, they were actually able to do a few things on there because they were running. If they weren't running the zone read action, they would have gotten absolutely nothing. So yeah, that works. It works around the goal line, especially. A little bit of deception, a little bit of hesitation can make all the difference in the world. And yeah, no, it was good to see that. It was good to see the bush push on the quarterback sneak, and yeah, but we have to get better. We have to get better up, at that. And we weren't playing Georgia this week. That's probably a good thing, but we're not going to see them for another 3.5 months or whatever it is. So we've got plenty of. I mean, I always think back about last year in the NFL, where watching the Chiefs get absolutely mollywalked by the Raiders. That one game, that impossible game, they just got crushed, and then the Chiefs go on to win the Super Bowl. Long season, chalk it up as a victory. Big 46-point victory, not quite enough to cover the spread, but enough to to impress anybody that's on the outside looking, and just take it, move on, and get better.
Yeah, like that's where I'm at. I mean, we could be Florida State, we could be Clemson. The season could be not completely dead, but I mean, if you're those guys and you take that early season L, like that's a different ball of wax. So again, I like the direction of the team. I think there's going to be a lot of hard coaching. But again, I think hard coaching when we win by 46 points as opposed to the old. You got to remember, I grew up in the old Trestle days where we were winning 17-3, against a MAC school, and that was kind of, those days are gone. So again, I like winning by 46 and people still being upset about it. But yeah, I like seeing the short yardage stuff. Mikey Antonio, thanks for the 5. Go Bucks. You may have discussed already. Please stop taking up for Devin Brown. He sucks for an OSU quarterback. Nevada, did we talk up Devin Brown? I mean, I've been pretty clear on the Julian Sayin train, and I don't think that Devin, he's a nice kid, but yeah, I think Julian's the future of the program. So, but am I missing something?
Look, I thought last year in fall camp, Devin did some nice things, and I thought it was a really close battle with him and Kyle McCord. I still feel that way. I like Devin. I have a lot of respect for Devin. Um, yeah, am I writing him off after not even half of a game, like a series against Akron or whatever? No. But do I think Julian Sayin is pretty good? Yeah, Julian Sayin is pretty good, and Will Howard's very good. So it's a tough path for him, but I like Devin. I like him as a person. I respect him in terms of doing it. Do I think he's good enough to be the starter at Ohio State? I don't, and that's why Will Howard is the starter. So that's kind of where I'm at with him.
Well, and Ryan Day literally said that like 3 weeks into camp last year, he thought that Devin was going to be the starting quarterback. That was like the big revelation from his press conference, like, 10 days ago or whenever it was, when he said, well, I thought at this point that Devin was going to be my guy, be the guy. And, that was when, Zach was saying that he could win the Heisman, and we had people that were saying how good he was and how sharp he looked. And, and people were like, oh my God, you're so dumb, so bad. I'm like, well, that's what was really happening. Like, all we can do is say, look, guys, when we have people watching practice and we see who's getting reps with who and who's, making plays, like, I mean, we just report that. Like, we don't have a skin in the game at all when we talk about players that are good. I mean, like, when we tell you, like, JJ is, maybe the best receiver in school history, or he's going to be, then it's not because, JJ's our, my nephew. It's because this is what we hear. This is what we know. And our sources are nails. Again, we've talked about, I mean, years ago, we talked about how great Trey Sermon was. And then we get to the season and he doesn't play all year until the Big Ten title game. He runs for like 350 yards. And I was like, that's what we told you guys, So again, I don't know, like Devin, it's going to be interesting to see what his role is going forward. I mean, he's still the backup. Ryan still has him out there as a second quarterback. I think Jaden Ballard, I mean, I need to see some Mylan Graham. Mylan's been killing it the last few weeks of training camp. So I want to get him involved and just start, growing towards the future, because I think that every rep that you don't play that kid is a waste. Nevada, just switching gears real quick, I thought Denzel Burke was fantastic today, and that play he made was one of the, 7-3, and they're moving it a little bit, and he makes that wicked interception. What are your thoughts on him? Because that was, for a kid that, again, another kid that easily could have been a captain who wasn't, for him to make that play, I thought that was elite, special, Sports Center worthy. It hits the guy right in his chest, bobbles it a little bit. Denzel snags it. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I just thought I mean, look, and he's clearly the leader of the secondary, but that entire secondary is really, really good. I mean, Davison was locked down today. Caleb was making plays all over the field. Lathan Ransom was terrific. But I mean, no, he's a terrific player, and he's going to be a high draft pick in the NFL draft next year, and he's going to make a lot of money. And we're really lucky to have him for 15 or 16 more games. But yeah, big players make big plays, and that was probably the play that kind of busted the game open. Not that this game wasn't going to break open anyway, but that was certainly an inflection point, and great play by him, and he's going to have a big year.
Yeah, I totally agree. Jojo4312, thank you for the 5. There were a lot of blocking assignments missed, a lack of push, and still some offensive line issues. Yeah, I mean, that, again, we've talked a lot about, with camp, there's a lot of things that make playing offensive line a lot harder than it used to be. Because for one, they have one practice a day now, so you don't get 2 days anymore. So that, the guys, there's less physicality in camp. For two, a lot of these guys had the hand, foot, mouth disease. So Josh Simmons, Carson Hinsman, there were a lot of guys that didn't get as many practice reps as they needed. And I'm just telling you, like, there's rust. There was rust. So again, when you don't have everybody in there, you're not communicating, then things can look a little screwy. That can get fixed. Again, this is the first time these guys have all played together. New center, new system, new offense with Chip Kelly. Not new offense, but I'd say it's probably about 40% new, 60% retained. Chip had to come learn, Ryan Day's language essentially, but there's still a lot of nuance, and there's some things that need fixed. But when you've got good players and you've got an athletic quarterback, you can fix it. I'm actually going to break a plate on right now that I wanted to show, because this is one of the things that Will Howard cleaned up real early. So they run a simulated pressure here, and a simulated pressure basically means they're going to show like a zero blitz, which is they're bringing 6 guys and they're man across the board, but in reality, they're only bringing 4. So they run a 4-man rush, and we don't pick it up. It looks like a 6-man. We don't go the right way. So he's out. They bring 4 versus 5 blockers, but we don't pick up this edge guy. So this edge guy is scot-free on Will Howard. And again, this is why it's good to be an athlete. Will sees this, and again, we got this all gobbed up in here, but we still have an extra guy in here who we could have been blocking with. And instead, we're triple teaming one guy. We've got 3 guys on here. We got 1 guy in here, one-on-one, and this guy's free. But Will, being a good athlete, steps up, and this is like a drill that they do, an individual, and slides out of here, keeps his eyes downfield, throws a rope to JJ, and converts it. So again, is that something that is an offensive line deficiency from the skill standpoint? No. Is it a communication error? Yes. Is that something that they can get better from? Yes. Is that something that they have to fix immediately, or else they're going to see it every week? Also, yes. So again, they're going to go through gyrations as to, okay, we're in a 5-man protection and they're showing the simulated pressure. What's the best way to sort everything out? We used to have a thing where we'd call a super sift, where it's like everybody would just basically set backwards, vertically set backwards. And then, somebody has to bail. Either they're going to if they bring all 6, that's one thing, but somebody has to bail out of there. And generally within 2 steps, there's 2 guys getting out of there to run that sim pressure. So that's when where Akron got us. But Will Howard, being an athlete, which is where he's if that's Kyle McCord, that's a sack, loss of 7, and call the punt team. Or instead with Will Howard, he's actually able to step around that, keep his eyes downfield, throw a rope to JJ, and convert. So again, that's some of the stuff that Will Howard shows that he can do. But the offensive line, it's hard when you're going against these simulated pressures. It's not easy to pick all of that up. Sometimes you just have to have the balls and point one way or the other. Say we're going to take the guys to the left. Well, you got to beat the guy to the right, because you have to, figure out if there's a tell between a simulated pressure, which is where they only bring 4, and a real pressure where they bring 6. Because it's either or. Simulated pressures only work if you bring 6 every now and again. So again, that's something that Justin Fry, Tim Drevno, Chip Kelly, they all have to work on, get fixed up, do the best they can. But yeah, again, this is something that was, I don't even know if it's a mental error, because again, sometimes you're going to guess wrong. So it'd be interesting to see what the call was and what Justin Fry and Seth McLaughlin's solution is to that. Because again, that's part of the game sometimes. Sometimes the defense is just going to get you. And thank God we have a quarterback who is athletic enough to step around it and make a nice play and keep the chains moving. Because again, if you had lead foot McCord last year, that he's getting sacked and it's, game over, and let's get the punt team out there. So Nevada, any thoughts on that?
Well, no, that was, you stole my line. That was my first thought was, if that's Kyle McCord, that is a sack 100% of the time. Not even 99% of the time. That is 100% of the time. That is a sack, or maybe an intentional grounding because he just threw the ball out of the thing. And those are the little plays where Will Howard is just so valuable for the team, and is such an upgrade in terms of being able to do that stuff. Pocket presence, pocket awareness, athleticism, being able to move around. Underrated point, doesn't always show up, firmly on the stat sheet, but those are the plays that make the difference. And I think that's one of the reasons why I'm so high on Will Howard. And I think he's going to have a monster year for Ohio State. Today wasn't his best thing, and he was really close to having a big. I mean, Emeka gets tackled. JJ has that one pass down to the 1. And then the other one that JJ dropped. I mean, Will Howard could have had 5 or 6 touchdown passes today. but he had a nice solid day, no turnovers, very efficient, and yeah, but no, his athleticism is certainly a plus for us.
Totally agree. Nate Connor, thanks for the 5. Thoughts on how long Howard stayed in the game and that Brown was in and not sane? We'll have to go back and check the film, but Will was very accurate today. I just think Ryan was trying to make a point. I think he was trying, he was not particularly thrilled with the direction of how the offense was rolling. So he's like, you know what? We're gonna leave that first team O line in. We're gonna leave him in, and Ryan wants these guys to get in a rhythm. It's one thing if you come out and you're nails and sharp, then you're gonna get pulled earlier. But when you're kind of kicking it around for the first half a little bit, and the line's not to the point where they feel like they can be pulled, then you got to play more. And again, that's something where I think that we dealt with the lack of camp for a lot of these guys, and it hurt us. The fact that a lot of these guys missed chunks of training camp, on the O line because of a funky little disease. It just, it means that you gotta, try to. It's basically like you have to turn this game into like training camp practices. You have to, everyone has to work a little bit and do some stuff that they probably aren't really dying to do because, like when I played in games like this, man, I was like, get me out of this stupid Akron game. We're up 35. Put all these backups in because we're not going to lose. I don't really care what the score is. And I don't want any of our good players getting hurt. Like, not good players. I don't want any of our starters getting hurt. And plus, I think it's valuable to get the young guys in because these young guys have to prove they can play in Ohio Stadium. Practice doesn't mean anything. Practice is great. I know that everyone says, "Oh, you got to practice hard," and you do have to practice hard. The practice is invaluable, but there's nothing like the game. There's nothing like the live deal. Again, I could sit and talk in the mirror all day and say, "Oh man, I'm gonna do a great podcast." But if I get on here and I'm all over the place and jittery and stuttering and can't deliver, then you guys are like, "Oh, Kirk, all that talking in the mirror didn't do any good for you." You got to do it when it's live and people can see you, and you have to do it when there's some sort of there's a penance. If you don't perform, like CJ Hicks did not have a great day today. I didn't think G Scott was great today. There's some guys that the whole world can see it now. There's no hiding. This isn't the Woody Hayes. This isn't the practice field. And you're going to deal with some scrutiny. The O-line, I thought the O-line was okay. I didn't think they were great, but again, I'm not hating on the O-line because again, I've been there. Again, you're talking to a guy it was 3-2, and I was the captain of that team. So when I got to the microphone after that game, I was Mr. Mean Guy. Like a lot of my teammates said I was a total a-hole for what I said, but I said it was completely unacceptable to play like that. It was a joke, And again, and people might hate me because I tell the truth all the time, but that's why you guys like to listen to me because I'm not here to sugarcoat and fawn and whatever. But that's why I'm telling you that today was not a disaster. It was not some, oh my God, we're never going to be able to win. We're never going to be able to beat Oregon, like whatever. Like I think this team's going to be in really good shape. And I think there's going to be a lot of different people playing by the time we get to Oregon. I'm just saying, like some of these guys, but some of these guys showed up. Like, I mean, I thought Caleb Downs as a spy was excellent. Caleb, I thought JT played with a lot of power. I thought Jack was all over the place. I loved what I saw out of our top tier guys on defense. I loved it. Denzel Burke, all of it. Nevada, your thoughts. Again, Nate, I appreciate you, man. Thanks for the 5. Thoughts on how long Will Howard stayed in the game and that Brown was in and not sane. We'll have to go back and check the film, but Will was very accurate today. Totally agree with you. Your thoughts on that, Nevada?
Yeah, I thought that he needed the reps. I mean, he clearly needed the reps. They wanted to get him in there. They wanted to get some stuff going. They wanted to do their thing. And I didn't have any problem with it. Devin coming in as the backup was kind of as we expected. I really thought the game was going to get out of hand a little bit quicker. Will would get out of there. They'd get Devin some reps, and then they get Julian Saint some reps after that. But didn't work out that way. But I have no trouble with it. I mean, the bottom line is you got to use this game to prepare you for the rest of your games, and that's why they had the first team offensive line in there late in the game. It's not like they were trying to run up the score on Akron. They're trying to build their conditioning. They're trying to build their cohesion. They're trying to get them together. So same thing with Will Howard. So like I said, I had no problem with it.
Yeah, I think when you look at some of the like I said, when Devin was still on, I still saw Josh Fryer in there, and I saw Simmons in there. I was like, oh man, they're gonna be they're going to be having a time in film tomorrow, boy, because Ryan Day is not happy. Justin Fry is not happy. Chip Kelly's not happy. So, and again, that's fine. Again, I've been on lines that have underperformed. I mean, when we played Akron, we gave up a safety. We were up 3-2 at halftime. So it's like, I've been there. And again, if you don't earn the right to come out of the game early, then leave him out there. I don't care. And again, Josh Simmons, who I think can be a very good player, needs to be more physical. He does. Again, I watched this film. He's got a lot of ability. And again, I still think he's working on his timing. I still think that he's got a lot of upside. I still think he's a guy that, missing training camp, it sucks. Training camp it's a necessary evil, but when you miss it, it's the worst thing in the world because you don't get your timing, you don't get your conditioning, and there's nothing an offensive lineman can do to simulate what it's like to block Jack Sawyer in the running game or in pass pro or JT Tuimoloau or those types of events. Like there's nothing I could do because there were times where I was hurt and I couldn't practice, broken foot, torn MCL, and I was limited in practice and like I hated it because I couldn't get my time down. Practice sucks. Like you understand, I practiced against Cam Hayward, who's an NFL Hall of Famer every day. Vernon Golson was the 6th pick in the draft. In '07, those are the two ends I went against every day. So a first rounder, two first round picks, and one's going to be in Canton, probably our first ballot kid with Cam. And then my freshman year I played Will Smith. So those are the guys that made me sharp. Those guys made me into an All-American. Because when I got to Saturday, I'm like, God, this is real life. Like I don't have to block Cam Hayward every day, 6'7", first rounder, and Vern Golson, 6th overall pick in the draft. So, I think these guys will get better. I think that they're going to turn up the heat in practice. And again, another benefit to the schedule being soft to start the year is that you don't have to play Texas week 2. Michigan's got to go play the Texas Longhorns, who looked really good today. They got a night game, which sucks for them. And then they got the big bad Longhorns coming to town, and they're going to smoke those guys. So Ohio State gets Western Michigan. So Ryan Day can turn up the heat in practice, beat on these kids a little bit, have a good physical practice, and not worry about getting them to the game. And this is something that I talked to Jim Tressel about this. Because again, as much as I like to act like I'm Mr. Expert on everything, there's a lot of stuff I just don't know. And I ask, I have the phone a friend where I call Urban Meyer, I call Jim Tressel, and I ask him, hey, if you don't have a matchup game early in the season, did it affect your preparation when you're starting off with, Akron, a couple MAC schools, or an FC, or a 1AA school, or a lesser Big Ten team, whatever. And, like Trust was like, oh, absolutely. Like, when we played Texas in '05, he didn't, it's not that he took care of us because we still were physical in practice, but, he didn't put the screws just as hard. When we played, lesser teams to start the season, he was turning up in practice. He was like, we're going to have more ones versus ones. We're going to have more inside run, which is a really physical drill that we like to do, because he wants us to work on our timing and get everything kind of cruising along. So I think it's going to be fascinating to see what they do in practice this week. And, again, like I think that there's a fine line between beating these kids to death on the O-line versus, making sure that you're still instilling some confidence. Because, again, Tigre made his first start, did fine, didn't give up 5 sacks or have some sort of an albatross or get a bunch of holding penalties. Austin Seyerveld, first start. So, you got 2 guys that are going to be long-term fixtures on the interior at Ohio State. And I thought they did well. Carson got in there, thought he did well. Could these guys be more physical in the passing game? Yes. That's something I saw over and over again, where these guys need to go take shots on some of these defensive tackles and go make them pay a penance for rushing. Because there's too many times where they would have guys, and I'm going to find clips of this because it's easier for me to show you than tell you guys. There were times where guys were free and, the defensive end is rushing and, you got Fryer out there or Josh Simmons holding him up. Like, and you'd have a guard that had nothing to do. He needs to go kill that guy. And again, I'm going to find film of it, and you guys are going to be like, oh. Because when you do that, it takes all of the wind out of their body. You can go put your helmet right in their ribs, and we used to do that all the time. Like, if I had and again, when you're the tackle, you're almost never the free guy. The guards usually the free guys. But the guards can go get kill shots. And again, we don't do that, like, ever. And I don't know why. It's obviously not taught because it's really easy to do, and it really helps the guys out. And it adds cumulative trauma to the defensive tackles and the defensive ends, especially the DNs. Because if you're a guard and that DN thinks about spinning back inside, you could literally send him to the shadow realm because you can hit him so hard that he wishes that he was back in Summit County. All right, let's get on to the next one. Um, all right, Dougley TV, thanks for the deuce. Judd was getting stopped by Akron's D line. Judkins getting stopped by Akron's D line. It was vicious. Yeah, I mean, I think some of it was poorly blocked, and some of it was feel. But again, I'm going to rewatch the tape too. Again, did I expect a little bit more out of him? Yeah, I thought Trey. I thought Trey looked better today. I mean, Nevada, you'd probably agree with that. I mean, Trey was averaged like 8.5 a carry or something, and he looked explosive. There was one time the turf monster got on, but I think Quinshawn will be better. But I thought Trey was clearly the better back of the two today. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, just real small samples. Only 8 carries. I liked what they were doing with Trey throwing in the ball out of the backfield. I thought those kind of like long handoffs there. Those were nice. I thought Quinchon looked like he was running with kind of really, kind of choppy, really narrow base. And but again, there wasn't a whole lot blocked up for him today. And yeah, like I said, the offensive line, offensive scheme, everything's they got to get better at those guys go because those guys are both insanely talented, and they need to help them out a little bit.
Yeah, I totally agree. Richard Good, thanks for the deuce. Hope you're doing good, my friend. I got a question right after that. Nevada, was history made by playing two rookie/freshman receivers today? Um, I mean, I assume the second one was Milan. I mean, obviously JJ. I don't know who the other freshman was. Was it Milan? I mean, because Ennis he's a sophomore. I don't know if Ennis redshirted or not. I don't think he did. But Carnell was a guy that he obviously played last year. He didn't redshirt, but I don't know who the other one would be. Did I miss somebody in Nevada?
No, I think we're probably getting a little confused on the status for somebody, but no, I mean, look, JJ was, yeah, that was something special. You don't see a true freshman do stuff, and not much like that. And you want to see teams struggle offensively. Michigan is struggling mightily today against Fresno State. I mean, who could have predicted this? The Michigan quarterback is not good, and their offensive line is not very good either. And their defense is bailing them out, but hey, as bad as it is for Ohio State, man, it could be a lot worse. You could be Michigan, that's for sure.
5 new offensive line starters and a new quarterback starter, but can't say that 1,000 times. Like I'm like, look, you're starting five. I mean, we were starting basically 2 new guys with Austin and Tigra today. We saw our veteran tackles back. We had a center that's played 50 games at Bama. But when you're starting 5 new guys, and the one guy had like 3 or 4 starts last year before he got benched, like that ain't gonna look great. I've never seen that look great. Sharon Moore was the line coach last year and the coordinator. Now he's the head coach. You got a new line coach, and you got 5 new guys. Like it's just a recipe for disaster. Unless you get a stone cold line coach, which again Newsom is not that. He's not Bill Callahan. He's not Alex Gibbs. God rest his soul. So it's it's very predictable that they'd be average. Michael Jarrett, thanks for the 20, says, bugs me that scum screwed families, coaches, players, and etc. from awards and also the draft. I would sue the crap out of Michigan for what they did and put Harbaugh on it. Say bet. Yeah, I mean, it bugs me. I don't know if any of those guys are gonna starve to death, but like CJ should have 2 Heismans, and there's a lot of awards I think that would have been skewed towards. I mean, surely Paris Johnson would have won Lineman of the Year in the Big Ten if we were the outright Big Ten champions, like we would have been. But again, I think a lot of that's in the past, and I think that that's something that when you're looking at it, it's unfortunate because these kids and these coaches and these families, and even to a lesser extent the fan base, has to deal with the moronic Michigan fans that are so obnoxious and stupid. But it's coming. The hammer's coming, and it's not going to be fun for them. And they're going to get smoked. And again, we've been saying it, and the national media narrative 3 or 4 weeks ago when the draft notice of allegations came out was that we're idiots and we don't know what we're talking about. And then in the last week, I've seen more Michigan needs to get the hammer. Michigan is phony. Michigan is trash. I mean, just like it's like a total 180 from the media, and we're the only ones that have been consistent. I mean, I'm talking. We've never wavered from, hey, this is really bad. And again, the Stallions thing comes out, and clearly you're dealing with, when you're dealing with someone who's like part of the lunatic fringe, which is what Connor Stallions is, like he'll do anything. And he did do anything. And Michigan's going to pay a penance because they let him into the building. They let the wolf into the hen house. And all of a sudden they're like, well, I didn't know that the wolf was going to eat all the chickens. I had no idea. Like, I mean, how could I ever know that? I don't know what's going on. Like, all I do is tell the truth and never lie. Like, I'm Jim Harbaugh. My dad told me tell the truth and never lie, and liars never succeed, and then, or whatever. And I'm just like, dude, like that guy is right next to your two coordinators, and you make $8 million a year as a head coach, and you have no idea what he's saying to him. Some recruiting assistant. Are you kidding me? But again, you're not. You could fool a lot of the dumb people, but you're not fooling the Scoop and the Scoop family. I promise you. We're all over that, and we have been. And Nevadabuck had an ace in the whole source and smoked you guys. So again, game over. And again, we've had national people call out Buckeye Scoop because of the accuracy of Nevadabuck. So it's been a very good run. Nevada, do you have anything to add to the fact that Michigan screwed Ohio State out of a lot of good stuff?
Well, just ask yourself, as you watch the game today, just ask yourself how many times did they show the signalers so you could pick the signs from the television thing, like Connor Stallions was professing. I think the answer would be exactly zero. No. I was also looking for who was the sign stealer sitting next to the coordinators today. Signaling to Michigan guys, and they don't have one today, and who could have figured that was unusual? But no, not like there were a lot of victims. They're trying to play themselves as the victims, but there were a lot of victims. None of them in at Michigan, and I'm so glad that they're going to get hammered on this. What's the funnest thing for me is watching them come to the realization they're going to get the hammer as well. That makes it all that much better. And watching Ward Manuel kind of prepare them all for it, it's a beautiful thing.
Ward's totally changed. I mean, he literally, again, we got that little softball interview that he did with the local affiliate sports thing. I mean, he did like a little 7-minute segment where he talked about the sign stealing, and this guy was sending people, and he had a little network, and he was directing them what to do, and iCloud, upload the film to iCloud, and he's breaking it all down. I'm like, guys, the thing is when you're doing this and you're uploading it to iCloud or Dropbox or whatever, name your data dump, center where you're going to send these video files to, that's all traceable. That's all easy to find. Again, when you're doing on the Michigan, public Wi-Fi system, which I'm sure he was, they're going to find all that. I mean, it's just not that hard to find. Nevada, I'm going to break your play real quick. Cause I love this play. This is your little cross action level deal. You got the little, you got your tight end coming across the formation. This is great. You got the full zone action here. So you got everybody working this way, including the back. And then you've got your levels. This ends up going here to Mecca. You got the runoff. Then you got this little short level here. I love this. And then your tight end's down here. So you've got basically, medium, curl back, short level, runoff. But the misdirection on this is so beautiful because this stresses these two guys tremendously when you run this play and you see the linebackers are out of it. You've got this guy's in no man's land because, do you dump it here? Do you take the shot? And again, this is on the run. Nice, easy pass, guy getting close, guy gets his hand up and drops a dime, So again, I know everyone says Will Howard can't throw, but this is right on the money. This is perfect, and he's got a guy kind of right at his six. He's a little bit off balance and just aces it right in the hole on 2nd and 9. So again, that's some of the Chip Kelly stuff I loved. And that's some of the Will Howard stuff that I love. And again, that's being an athlete. That's being a shortstop in baseball, picking it up, hitting it right on the nose. What were your thoughts on that play? Because I know that you love that. And I like stuff that's hard to defend. And that kind of stuff is very hard to defend. But what are your thoughts?
Impossible to defend. Just absolutely impossible. That's classic San Francisco 49ers offense right there. And, attacking multiple levels and with a quarterback run option. So no, that's big time Chip Kelly stuff. And I hope we see more and more and more of that, and I fully expect that we will. We saw that throughout the fall. They were running a lot of that stuff, and it was very difficult for the defense to follow the ball. Very difficult for the defense to stop. So hopefully, that's just the beginning of many, many times we see that.
Yeah, absolutely. Contributor to the queue. Thanks for the deuce. Fresno plays. They're playing any good against the team up north. Yeah, I don't know what's the score on that one, Nevada. I haven't seen that.
7-3 Michigan with like 4 minutes to go in the first half.
So again, we've talked about under 9. Or is it 8-5 now? The under 5 or under the over under on the win total. Yeah,
No,
that
no
one's
yeah, that was under 9. We had that, and I'm telling you, Michigan's not very good, and their quarterback, the guy that they announced as their quarterback is not. He literally cannot throw the ball, and he's not a running threat. So I think I've been saying 8-4, 9-3, 7-5 is a floor. Um, 7-5 might be generous right now. I'm telling you, because they are really going to struggle to score. Like, I mean, they're going to struggle like Iowa struggling last year type to
yeah.
score. Today they had the classic 3rd down and 6 inches, and they lined it up and run the ball, and Fresno State just beat their butt and pushed it back 2 yards, and they lost it. I mean, like it, they don't. It ain't the same anymore. You're not in Kansas anymore. They're Sharon. And
Yeah.
things are not just going to roll on. I love the theory that, it's the different guys, but it's just going to be the same. It's just going to keep rolling.
No.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
No, I mean, like I love that. Like when Jim Tressel and Terrell Pryor walked out the door, and we had a lot of the same coaches and a lot of the same players, but we lost Tress. Like we lost 7 games. We went from preseason top 3 to the Gator Bowl, 6-6. So I mean, you lose JJ McCarthy, you lose a 5 starting offensive lineman, you lose Blake Corum, you lose Jim Harbaugh. And again, Jim Harbaugh is a liar, a scumbag. He's all the above. But he's a good football coach. Again, he's the guy that took the 49ers to the Super Bowl. Again, when they started cheating, they got better. But even before they were cheating, they still, were good on the offensive line. They got much better from obviously the Brady Hoke and Rich Rod era, which again, there's nowhere to go but up. I totally get that. But when he was at San Francisco, his dudes could mash. When they had Joe Staley and Mike Upati and Godwin and Alex Boone and Anthony Davis, I mean, those guys could mash up front. So again, just when you lose him and you lose your strength coach, it's not surprising that all of a sudden they're not getting the push that they did last year. Contributor also, okay, you were playing good. Thanks for the deuce again. Geo did. What is up, brother? Hope you're good. Thank you for the 5. Oh, here we go. Nevada. To me, Arvell Reese is better than CJ Hicks. CJ Hicks doesn't have natural instincts where Arvell Reese does and is a better tackler. I don't think there's any question at this point that Arvell Reese is better. And I think that when we came out of halftime and we saw them make that change, the coaching staff agrees with it. Nevada, I imagine that you're on the same wavelength as Jim Knowles, who and James Laurinaitis. Again, playing at Ohio State is a production-based business. It really is. And CJ has strengths. His strengths to me are blitzing, affecting the thing. But man, when it comes to instincts, slow to process, a lot of blown coverages, a lot of blown assignments, and not a ton of impact unless he's being told to blitz and go downhill. The reactions just I don't feel like they're there. And again, I could be dead wrong. Maybe they'll come out and say, "Oh, he graded out great," and maybe I'm blind, but I don't feel him as an Ohio State linebacker. And I played with AJ and I played with James, and those are 2 multi-time All-Americans and 2 of the best who's ever did it. And I was there with Shazier, who was excellent. I don't feel that out of CJ. And again, I'm not just trying to compare him to first round picks and multiple time All-Americans, but CJ's a lot of hype, 5-star guy and a lot of ability, and the production just doesn't really match it. But what are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, and again, I don't want to be like that. I'm the anti CJ Hicks thing. Or I don't like CJ Hicks, or I mean, look, I want CJ Hicks to be Marcus Merrick and Randy Gradishar and AJ Hawk all rolled into one guy, and make 50 tackles a game. But the bottom line is, he's just not. And Can he get better? For sure. I hope he does. I hope he does better, and I hope he does. But he's got to get better. We have to get better production, and that goes to Sonny Styles as well. We have to get better production. Now, the good news is we have a guy that is a captain, the Blocko member, and a guy that we think could be a first-team All-American this year, and Cody Simon, who didn't play today. But we need him back. We need him back because we were not good enough, and that's CJ needs to be better. And he's got all the athleticism in the world. He needs to process faster and be able to respond and make plays because he was out of position. And you're right; they were playing find the fish, and the fish was named C.J. Hicks.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, I think, and again, I think Arvel's been a revelation. So it won't surprise me at all if Cody is held again. Which again, if a guy's got a hangnail and some other thing, and I know Cody hasn't done a lot in his career, but he's been thought of enough to be a captain. With I don't know if he's got more than 1 or 2 starts in his career, but if he's going to get held next week, it's not going to surprise me if Arvel's is starting Mike linebacker. Richard Good, thanks for the 10. Pop quiz. Archie Griffin's favorite game memory was his first game getting inserted midway through the first quarter and ran for 275 yards. First game record. Pop quiz for $50. Who was the opposing team? Nevada. Do you have any clue? Because I do not.
North Carolina.
Is that true, Richard? You could maybe put that in. We can't see the regular chat, so the super chats are all we can see. So you feel pretty confident on that, Nevada?
I mean, I think so. I think so.
Did you bet? Was this like in the 70s and you had the DraftKings digi thing and you were able to put the anytime touchdown in before the game? Anytime.
No, this would have been when Nevadabuck was just a little sprout, and I don't think it was 275. I think it was 239 yards, but whatever. It was a big time performance in a day that Archie didn't even expect to play, and he balled out.
Yeah. All right. I'll take it. All right. But I appreciate that, Richard. Pooh Beard, what's up, brother? Thanks for the 12. Sorry you were out there in the hot sun. Another take from the stands. Downs is fun to watch. Focus on him a few times. He's all over the field. Making reads before the play on times. He's really good. I mean, he is, and they used him as a spy today, which I thought was great because when they had their guy that could kind of get a little loose, like he finally triggered. And he went in there and got after it a little bit, and he did a really nice job, again, and he wrapped and got a sack, and I mean, he is worth every penny. And again, when people say they hate NIL and they hate the transfer portal, I'm like, well, don't root for Caleb Downs then, because without those two things, we don't have him, and he's stuck at Bama, and kind of away we go. So I loved it. I loved everything he did. He's going to be a first-team All-American this year, and the amazing thing about life is that we have him for a whole nother season, which is crazy. And he'll be a captain next year for sure. Nevada, your thoughts? Again, Pooper, thanks for the 5, says, another take from the stands. Caleb Downs is fun to watch. Focus on him a few times, and he is all over the field, making reads before the play unfolds. What are your thoughts, Nevada?
Yeah, it's just so nice to see production out of that safety spot. He feels kind of like Malik Hooker or, one of those guys that's always around the ball. Thought he was close to making some really big plays today. But yeah, no, he's outstanding. What an addition to an already great. He's the guy that will take that defense from really, really good to great. And we're so blessed to have him. The fact that we have him for one more year on top of that is super scary because the sky's the limit for him.
Yeah, I totally agree. Here we go, Nevada. Nicholas Smith, thanks for the deuce. Michigan has huge problems on offense. Nevada, you called it. You've been saying it. I mean, were you surprised with all we heard about was Alex Orji all year and how he's Michael Vick and he can run a 4.3 and everything else. And now he's beaten out by a walk-on along with the 7th-year guy, Tuttle. Like, is that shocking to you?
No, because Orji's terrible. I mean, they do not have a quarterback this year. So, I mean, this Warren guy's, is bad. And, Orji's worse. So they're going to struggle. And, the quarterback position is overpowered at the college level. And if you don't have that, look, J.J. McCarthy was a top 10 pick or what it was in the NFL draft. I never thought he was any good, but clearly the NFL did. And, these guys that they have right now, they're going to really struggle to score. But it's not like I'm watching this game and reacting and just saying that after one game. I said that long before that. I said before the season started, when they were putting out those win totals, I was like, it doesn't make sense to me that Michigan's win total is 9. That makes no sense to me at all. Bet the under. In this game tonight, I said, it makes no sense to me that this game's a 45-point total. Bet the under. And both things are happening. But no, I'm not surprised in the least.
Scott Rogers, thank you for the 5. The line looked like they were out with hand, foot, mouth, jury, so out. Benefit of the doubt. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. They were out. They looked rusty, and there's some guys that have to play a lot better. But there's sometimes where like we could have better scheme, in my opinion. And again, I love Chip. There isn't a bigger Chip Kelly fan on this earth other than maybe Nevadabuck than I am. I love what we do, but I'm gonna break down a play that I thought was it was effective, it was efficient. We got a yard against Akron, but this was something that I saw and I was just like, I don't know. And I know Chip is a wizard, and I know that Ryan Day are the two, the smartest human beings in the world, but this was our goal line play that we ran. And, I hate when we do stuff like this because, we have this condensed box, right? So you've got what looks like 3 tight ends and whatever, but you've got Jeremiah Smith at tight end here. You've got Emeka, you've got Carnell Tate, and you've got G. Scott. So you have 4 guys in the box that can't block a soul. They won't block a soul, and they're not blockers. They're not good blockers. They're not particularly willing blockers, and you bring them all in the box. So now you have this big, massive box. And again, we score on this play. So again, maybe you can say Kirk's being an a-hole, Kirk's being whatever. But, when you watch this, for one, our guys are pretty high for it to be goal line. But again, if this is Georgia, we're not getting in here. But versus these guys, we can kind of push them. And Tigra's high. Fryer doesn't block anybody. Again, just watch him. I mean, he comes off the rock, kind of falls down. This double team is too high. Again, they should be killing these guys. I mean, again, this is, and Simmons gets a piece of them, but they're still way too high. Like we should be putting this guy into this official. And we move him about a foot, and you should move him about 6 feet. I mean, I am not God, but I will show you some of my double teams when I play with TJ versus Michigan. It was like playing real teams, Texas, where I did the same block and I put the guy back here because I was just lower and I was more violent. So, but then you go to the zone 6 points. And again, I love JJ. JJ's, I think, is going to be the best receiver ever play here. But JJ doesn't want anything to do with blocking. So again, if this is a real player, he's stroking and killing Quinshon right there. Yeah, but the guy's just not good enough to make the play. So JJ doesn't really know what he's doing. So you got him in a right-handed stance. He's never been in a stance in his life, and releasing. So you've got basically a free hitter right here. You've got G. Scott, who is the worst blocking tight end in Ohio State history. And again, I'm not being a hater, and G's a nice kid, and I know that he does a lot of great stuff off the field, but he should never be in a goal line set. So he comes in here and gets crushed. And again, this guy almost makes the play. I mean, again, G gets nothing on this guy. He gets bounced backwards, stood up. This guy literally, if this guy's a better player, he makes the play. So you've got this guy in the hole. This guy bounces G. Scott back. And Quinshon, who's powerful, gets through here, and then you've got Emeka and Cardell out here, and it's just like Emeka doesn't want to block anybody, neither does Carnell. But you've got them all condensed here. Like look at Emeka. Like Emeka doesn't do a thing. Now he might be rolling out here, and this might be a triple option pass thing. Because again, I don't know what this is. I don't know if this is a rollout triple option, and Carnell's getting smashed back here. So again, what's Kirk's solution? Kirk's solution is put all those guys, spread them out. Put JJ out to the left, put the other 2 guys out to the right, make them get that box cleared out, because that's what smart teams do. Like putting JJ Smith at tight end, putting Carnell in there and Emeka, and then they got to block, safeties and linebackers and then get killed. And G. Scott. I mean, I'd at least put Kazmerigan. I'd put Luke Montgomery in it as an extra tight end wearing number 96 or 98 or whatever number he wore last year, to get some more force to the point. Because again, we got in because we just have better players than Akron does. But schematically, that's like, I don't know. And again, I'm not a coordinator. And again, I know Chip Kelly makes $80 million a year to be our coordinator, and Ryan Day. But I think that like putting JJ Smith in at tight end and having him hold the point is something that maybe to be cute against Akron you can do. But if you actually play like a real team ever, like when we get to the end of the playoffs, like you can't do this. I mean, this would get stopped on the one, and it's first and goal. So obviously you can still have a chance to punch it in on the two, but I would never have our receivers in a condensed formation like that. When they're much more threatening when they're spread out wide. Imagine it's a regular 3 receiver set. Make those guys declare. Make the corners go out there. Make the nickel go out there. Make the safety go over the top of those guys. And again, if they don't want to put a safety over the top of the side that JJ's on, throw it to JJ. Let him do a Kevin Garnett dunk on top of the guy's head. Which he would do. So again, I saw that play and I was like, I know that we're gurus. I get it. But come on, man. You can't put 4 guys in the box. They couldn't block, the old lady redcoats that are letting the people into the stadium to scan in the tickets. Like that's how bad it is. But Nevada, do you have any thoughts? Because I know that people are gonna say, "Oh, big bad mean hater," but it's not. It's not me being a hater, but I know when something's not gonna work, and I know that the offensive line is gonna get crucified, and I'm just like, this is such a stupid formation that like, okay, like the offensive line doesn't look great, and again, the offensive line is high. And we don't get any push on the double team. And again, I don't know what these guys do, but the fact that they're not like coming off the rock when they're on the 1 yard line is crazy, And again, we still scored. And so again, Kirk's being an a-hole, being critical, being big meanie, big hater, whatever you want to call me. But like again, I just want what is best for the O-line and for the kids. Like you can't be that high on the goal line. I mean, come on, Nevada, your thoughts.
My thoughts are that Michigan has 85 yards of total offense in the first half of this game against Fresno State. So, like, it could always be worse, guys. It could always, when you're breaking in new guys, we're basically putting 2 definite new guys at the guard spot. They're breaking in 5. New quarterback first game. We didn't play well. That design doesn't that play design that you just showed, not crazy about it. I'm not sure what they're trying to do with it, but here's the thing. I'm confident enough in Chip Kelly to know that he's got to there's a plan. With Ryan Day, I wasn't sure if there ever was a plan with the running concepts, but with Chip, I know there's a plan. I just don't know what it was, and that one will be fun to go over film review with the guys and watch that great block by JD without that guy just walk right across his face. And, I mean, if that happened in a team I was coaching, man, I would rip that kid to smithereens, man. Yeah, that was terrible.
I would just be like, JJ, go out there and draw double coverage. JJ doesn't even have to block anybody. When you're on the 1 yard line, like he doesn't even have to touch the corner. Just go split out, 10 yards away from the formation and get him out of the box and make the safety move over. Like that's all you got to do. Like don't bring him into the box. Like I mean, again, like the football in the phone booth thing was dead for a long time under Tom Herman and Urban. And again, you watch Brian Kelly and some of these guys like last year when they had the Heisman winning quarterback, like, when they were there, man, they were 3 wide. Now they had 2 first round receivers, but we've got first round receivers and they would spread it out and they would run read option or they would throw it to Malik Neighbors. And it was like, holy cow, how do I defend that? That is really hard. And like, guess what? We've got the best slot receiver in the country in Emeka. We have the best X in the country in JJ. JJ should be, again, I don't know if we've always had this thing where like with Marvin, it was insane how little we targeted him in the red zone. When a guy's 6'4" and he's got a 40-inch vertical, like you think he'd be the number 1 option in the red zone, but like we wouldn't target him, and it kind of doing that a little bit with JJ. Now I know that we had that one backside slant that he hit that was great, but I don't know why you don't just throw the alley oop to JJ there, or do like I would do a read option RPO, and throw it to JJ, or have Emeka run a route. And again, that's what I was wondering if on the backside of that, it looked like Emeka was running up, and there was a part of that where Will could have pulled the ball out of Quinshon's gut, and Emeka was running a little route down the line. Because that's kind of what it looked like. 'Cause, I mean, it looked, I don't know if you could teach you how to block where you turn around and kind of like post them up like you're in a basketball game, but that's what they do when they run a pick play or they run. So I don't know if there's something that's supposed to come off of that. But again, I don't love putting JJ at tight end to block. And, and again, I don't think that you should ever have G Scott. Like in that situation, I don't know why you don't have Will Kazmarek or Jelani or Luke Montgomery or somebody in there that could actually try to get that block done. Because G's proven time and time again that he can't block. So again, that's not knocking G, because eventually you just have to figure out what you're not good at. Like, you don't have Shaquille O'Neal shoot 3-pointers, and you shouldn't have G Scott block. If you want to have him go out there and run routes, great. But there were times where we had 3 receivers in the game and G, and I was like, I think that you're helping out the defense when you don't have Brandon Ennis in the game. You have G Scott in as your slot receiver. But again, this is me. Let's see. Scott Rogers, thanks for the 5. Excuse me. Pooh Beard, thank you for the 5. I already had Scott. Do you think that any of the slow start can be in part attributed to Chip adjusting to calling plays from the box for the first time in 25 plus years? I think absolutely. And plus the helmet communications, plus the TV helmets. And again, this is not making excuses. Again, everyone has to deal with the same variables and whatever. But I think that it's something that'll be interesting. See if anything changes. I mean, I obviously don't think Chip Kelly's going to come downstairs after one game, but there was some adjustments. You got a new quarterback, new signal caller, or new play caller, new quarterback. Ryan isn't the initial guy. Is the communication all clear? And you've got, like I said, with the offensive line having guys in and out of the lineup, like it's not as tight as you'd like it to be. But again, we won by 46 points, so all is not lost. What are your thoughts about it? Do you think that any of the slow start can be attributed to Chip adjusting to calling the plays from the box for the first time in 25 years?
Maybe. I just think it was a wonky game, and look, it was wonky to watch. I mean, it was a 4-hour game or whatever it was, with starts and stops and confusion and spots, and it was just one of those games. And like you said, it was one of those games that we ended up winning by 46. And it was one of those games where, as bad as we played, we didn't turn the ball over. And, we did a lot of good things, but a lot of things to improve. So I don't think it was that. I mean, I've been involved in enough football games to know that one play on a drive can make or break the drive. The drive can go from perfect to terrible with one play. And our first drive, JJ drops a pass where he's probably housing it, and then he comes back and he doesn't line up properly and gets called for a procedure penalty, and it goes from touchdown to we're punting, and that's one of your possessions. That's you only in these days and times you're only getting 5-6 possessions a half. And there's 20% of your possessions, all for love, for want of somebody catching the ball. I think the second drive we had another wide receiver. I think it was Carnell dropped one. So, I just think it was just a wonky game. I really don't think it had to do with him being up in the box, but I'm sure that was an adjustment. But I don't think so. But I wonder what's Michigan's. Michigan. I'm literally watching this Michigan game. 89 yards offense in the first half. If we had 89 yards of offense, man. As bad as we were, we had a lot more than 89 yards of offense and an interception. So, things could always be worse.
Yeah, it's going to be really ugly when the Horns come to town next week. Jason Willard, thanks for the 5. Remember, Chip has not called plays in a few years. Russ there as well. Kirk. I'm not sure if that's true. I felt like he was the play caller at UCLA, but I'm gonna have to revisit that and look that up. Yeah, because I know Justin Fry was like the O coordinator there, but I still think Chip was the play caller. I mean, I watched some UCLA games and I saw him play, and I feel pretty decent that he was the play caller, but it might have been by committee. But I'm gonna have to study that. I don't want to say something and not be completely accurate, so I'll look that up. Nevada, your thoughts? He says that Chip Kelly has not called plays in a few years, but I felt like he was a play caller at UCLA. But again, I will check. 'Cause I know that he was a play caller in Philadelphia and San Francisco, so I don't know why he'd take a step back when he was when he's at a place like UCLA. But what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I'm 99% sure he was the one with that big Denny's menu calling the plays there at UCLA. So no, I think he was the play caller, but I'm sure it was an adjustment, not having to worry about everything else and all the craziness going around him. I'm sure that was an adjustment, but I'm 99% sure he was calling plays.
Well, I just think that that's something that we would have heard or known or somewhere that would have came up where they said, oh, well, Chip Kelly's an offensive genius, but this guy was calling the plays actually, or he wasn't actually the one calling the plays. Like, I feel like we would have heard that or known that at some point. But again, maybe I'm crazy, but again, I never heard anything other than he was the play caller. And, you know, I know Ryan obviously has an incredible relationship with him, but I think that when you look at what he what he's going to bring to the table and how much better they're going to get, I really like where this offense is headed. So I'll just leave it at that. Richard, good. Thank you for the 5. All right, Nevada. Archie Griffin did not play the first game as a freshman in 1973. He did play in the second game, and Nevada spot on 239 yards. Nevada, the Google machine. Great job, dude.
No, that was not Google. That was right out of Nevada's brain. But I don't know why that stuck in the brain. But yeah, but if I was Google, I would have been a little bit more certain. And who did they play? Did they play North Carolina?
I don't know. We got another super chat that is the same one as earlier, Richard. So I'm trying to figure out. Again, he said Archie Griffin said today that his favorite memory was his first game, and he set a school record for 275 yards. So again, this is the same super chat that we had earlier. So that's kind of interesting. But he said he was surprised at what he called his name. I don't know. I haven't been able to look it up. So if anybody has it, toss it in a super chat.
It was North Carolina, man. Nevada rules, man. I remember that. My mind is not going.
You're an absolute genius.
I'm a genius.
Really are. All right, Nevada. Mike Green, here we go. Thanks for the 5. I'm sorry, but Justin Fry has to go. He continues to disappoint. I understand the line needs time to gel, but it's a lack of nastiness, Nevada. Nevada, do we need to bring Stud back?
I look. First of all, when Stud was there was basically one person, maybe one and a half. Count the big guy, Burkhart. There's one person that supported Stud when he was here, and now it's like. But I'm telling you got the guy, LaCharles Bentley. Go get LaCharles Bentley. And LaCharles Bentley would bring the same type of energy to the offensive line room that Coach Locke is bringing to the running back room. And that's what you need. That's the guy. He's right there. Go get him. I don't care if Justin was the best man in your wedding. You know, Ryan, suck it up. Make the change. I'd make the change this week. I'd go in there and take his stuff out of his office, put it in his car, bring LaCharles in. But I'm probably being too harsh.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I watched LaCharles against Warren Sapp when LaCharles was a rookie in the NFL. Warren Sapp was the best defensive player maybe in the entire league. And LaCharles destroyed him, dumped him on his head like he was a toddler. And I was like, that is a bad dude. And I mean, you don't talk about a guy who played nasty. Like, LaChalk was as bad as you could ever dream of. He was a nasty, nasty dude. And I love LaCharles to death. It'd be interesting because I think that, you know, we don't finish guys at all. We don't put guys on the ground at all. And there's opportunities too. I'm not saying you got to pancake block guys every time, but I mean, I think we should have more physicality in our combo blocks. I've been saying it for multiple years. Like our combination blocks just aren't great, which is disappointing because you know there's a time where that was like kind of our creed was like we're going to be the best combination blocking team in America, and a combination block is a double team. So when you're the guy that has the double team, you know every zone play, every gap play, like most like 90% of runs, there is a double team somewhere, you know, unless it's a pin pull scheme. Like there's a double team, and you have to get movement on the double team. When you're putting 2 guys on one guy, those 2 guys have to move the one guy backwards. And if you do that, you're gonna have a great play. Again, you can go watch Beanie Wells run for like 1,700 yards when we ran like 3 different plays. And we moved guys on double teams. You know, and you could go watch when the 12 guys and 13 when we had Carlos Hyde and Braxton, we ran for like 7 yards a carry for an entire season, which is insane. Because our double teams were so good. With Norrell was excellent at it, Mewhort was excellent at it, Corey Lindsley was a bull as a center, Taylor Decker got really good at it, Elfline got really good at it. So that's something that we need to improve on. And I'm not trying to be the old guy who's the O-line hater because, again, I remember being an O-line player and an O-line coach. And I promise you, the one thing that you can write in stone is that everybody hates the offensive line coach at Ohio State. Jim Bowman, most hated coach of all time. Ed Warner, most hated coach of all time. Greg Studewa, most hated coach of all time. Now, Justin Fry, most hated coach of all time. So it's just a matter of time. It's kind of like, in the Batman thing where they say you just got to live long enough so that you can become the villain. That's what it is. Like, when you first the old guy gets fired and Justin Fry comes in and he has the big press conference and he says, oh, Nevada's favorite saying of all time about I want to point to right where I'm going to run it and I want the whole stadium to feel it and all that. Like, that's great. But you got to actually like have him do that. I mean, Nevada, that is your favorite quote of all time, right? Like you've got that somewhere in your man cave where it's like Justin Fry day one press conference. I think you have that. Did I get that for you?
Yeah, no, that was the one where he said his daughter, my daughter's going to say, my daddy said we're going to run right through that hole and we're going to be able to do it every time. And I remember hearing that and thinking, that's the stupidest thing that I've ever heard of in my entire life. And, but yeah, no, I mean, Justin's got to get better. I mean, he's got to get better. And he's got to get better across the board. He's got to get better recruiting. He's got to get better development. He's got to get better technique. Because I worry when I hear from people that I do respect about our technique and about things that we're doing and that we're not good at it. And I know that these kids have got talent and I'm just trying to figure out why we're not, more technicians at this stuff. And it doesn't make any sense to me. And that ultimately is the responsibility of the position coach. And he's just got to get better.
Yeah. Richard Good, thanks for the 5. Here you go, Nevada. The Buckeyes did play the Tar Heels in 1975. By the way, Archie set the rookie record of 239 yards for the first game. There you go, Nevada. There you go. Nevada, the Oracle of Information. My guy. Jim Jackson.
I remember.
You're on point. Jim Jackson, thanks for the 10. Burke, 2026, number 1 offensive tackle. Jackson Cantwell has visits scheduled to Nebraska, Alabama, Georgia, LSU, and Mizzou. Why not OSU? And we didn't even offer Andrew Babaloa. What gives? Jessica Alba Buck. Oh, that's really funny. There you go, Nevada. That could be your new nickname, Jessica Alba Buck. If you got to retire Nevada Buck, that could be your backup. Jessica Alba Billionaire Buck.
You know what my thumbnail will be then, for sure.
What, Jessica Alba from Honey?
No, I think I'm probably gonna go Into the Blue.
Did you do that one? Is that one of yours?
Yeah, that's one of mine.
Is it really? Were you like, I want to be in the casting call for this one? All right, tell me why you would be good for the role in Into the Blue, dear.
Okay. Oh man.
Well,
sat on the set with Paul Walker at that one. Talked about cars and kind of ironic that he died in a car accident. But yeah, that was a fun movie.
And you're sitting there, you're just like, she's like, well, I like to play video poker and I like London Broil, beef Wellington, and I like with a full strength Coke and a strawberry milkshake. Do you really?
I proposed. I proposed on this. I'm like, I love you, Jessica. I love you.
Oh my God. And you're a billionaire. It's awesome. It's great.
Yes.
I don't know what's going on with Jackson Cantwell or Andrew Babaloa. Again, like recruiting is something that I spend more time studying the team and inside information on the team than I do recruiting. I mean, we're fluent in it, but when we can't get these kids to even come to campus, it is kind of troubling, especially when it's one thing if they're going to like Alabama and Georgia and Southern thing, LSU, Mizzou, but if they're going to Nebraska, like they should be coming here. I mean, I'm just saying. So, I don't know. Like the O-line recruiting is something Nevada and I just don't really care about it. Because again, we usually end up being fine. We can always get better players, but it's an effort thing. And Nevada, like how much of that do you think falls on like our GM, or is it all just Justin Fry? Like, I mean, so we have like 20 people in the personnel department now. It's not like it's just Mark Pantoni and one intern like it used to be. Now there's like 20 people that are in there breaking film down and you're playing Tetris all day and making sure that Caleb Downs has the right calipers on his Range Rover. They're making sure of all that. Because I joke, I was like, a lot of those guys, they're just concierge for NIL. Hey, what kind of furniture does he want for his apartment? And, what kind of fridge does he want for his apartment? Like, that's kind of what they do now. But what do you think is there any solution to this? I know you don't care because I don't care, but your thoughts on that?
No, no. Look, it's a Pantone thing. It's a Ryan Day thing. It's an everybody thing. Because when you're not getting top notch offensive linemen in, you're not landing them. That lays on everybody. And so, as much as I want to just bag on Justin Fry and say, oh, it's his fault. Well, no, that is a team effort, man. That is a team effort, and I don't know what they have to do to get back to the stud thing of bringing in 5 stars every recruiting cycle. But I think for them, I think it's kind of it's an issue, but it's definitely not just the Justin Fry thing. It's a lot of people thing.
Yeah, I totally agree. Um, Mark Bundy, thanks for the deuce. I was starting to feel sorry for Ben Finley, Nevada OH.
I oh
Yeah, is what it is. Like I don't feel sorry for any of those guys, but they're out there and it's go time. College football's here and it waits for nobody. All right, Nevada, 2 hours, good show. You want to wrap this thing up?
Michigan sucks. Their team sucks. They're cheaters. And they have 89 yards offense in the first half against Fresno State. And Fresno State is not a great football team. So Ohio State fans, take heart. Um, Long way to go as the season there, but lots and lots and lots of things to be excited about. I loved what Will Howard brought to. I loved what Caleb Downs brought to the table. Um, I'm super excited about the team, and today was a good day. No injuries. Won the game by 46 points. And let's go get Western Michigan's not going to be a joke. That's going to be I mean, it's not a challenge like, hey, let's win or lose, but let's take another step and let's get better and have a good game next week. And I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, yeah. Like I said, we win, we advance, life's good. That's all you need to know. That's all I need. So, well, we're gonna head off into the night. I hope you guys had a great Saturday. It's great. The college football is rolling along. Some really good games are going on. So super excited about the direction of the program. Guys are gonna get blistered and filmed tomorrow. It's not gonna be fun. So some guys will lose their jobs. Some guys are gonna have to step up, and it's gonna be really exciting to see what the lineup looks like next week. So if you guys enjoyed this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, also click that little alert bell. Again, we appreciate you guys spending your Saturday night post game with us. We're going to do this each and every post game. Immediately after the game, we'll be ready to rock. So again, I appreciate you guys for all that you guys do. Again, Buckeye Scoop is a phenomenon at this point. It's all thanks to you guys. So again, if you guys want to do something tremendous for us, follow us on Apple Podcasts. We're growing that medium in a very, very meaningful way right now. And we see all your new reviews, all the 5-star reviews, all the great comments. So thank you for that. With that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation, and thank you, Scoop family. I am heading onto the message board to read this game thread on BuckeyeScoop.com. If you guys are not on the message board, you guys are crazy because we called this game perfectly. We said everything's going to run through JJ. It did. We nailed that. So, again, if you guys want to know what's really going on inside the program, join BuckeyeScoop.com. I'm heading there right now. Catch up with us. You get concierge level access to Nevadabuck and I. We're on there 20 hours a day. It is an absolute grind. And I just appreciate all that you guys do. So with that being said, thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. We will talk to you guys tomorrow. Go Bucks. All right, I got to come back. I got Mike Green, my dude. Thanks for the 5. It's his development. The guy's coming in. He's never ready. He's playing with a loaded deck. Yeah, I think Justin has to get better, and I think he knows that, and I think that it's going to be interesting to see what these guys can get done. So, again, I appreciate you, my man, Mike, and I'm sure that Ryan Day is going to have some tough conversations if these guys do not start to play a little bit tougher and a little bit lower. So, with that being said, you guys have a great night. Go Bucks.